Good evening, all, and welcome to this week's GKP Live. How you doing, guys? You good?
I'm good. Always good.
Oh,
I can't do it.
superb. Explosively good. Huh?
I'm very well. I'm very well.
I don't work. God damn it.
No.
Evening, Matt. Anthony. Rick.
Evening.
Evening.
Are you all ready for Christmas? Good to see the decorations up everywhere.
Well, I'll try.
I was supposed to buy a tree today on my way in from work.
I suppose so. But there's a boat coming, Rick. I can boat.
Yeah. I didn't have any cash on me.
But you didn't.
So there we
Did
go.
you get some beers on your way home from work?
I've had to go out and get them picking up airs. Just on simple Heineken tonight.
Simple Heineken. Thank you very much for joining us this evening. We've got a couple of topics to talk about and have a natter over. I am going to do a little poll, and this is just for a special certain person that I want to see if we can rectify this disagreement we've been having. I will put up a poll, and I expect everybody to take it as serious as possible because it is an answer that the nation needs to hear. So I'll add that in later on. But if you want to ask a question of the panel or anybody on the panel, do us a huge favour, type it out in capital letters so it stands out so we can make it, more visible from the rest of them. What's been happening then, guys? What have you been up to this week?
What are you asking me?
All three of you. Take it in turns.
Tell us your day, then, Ricky.
Oh, can you beat last week's disastrous day? Go on, Matt.
Well, Matt first.
Yeah, I've got no water.
As in none.
You've got worse. No. Literally, if I turn the tap on, nothing comes out.
I don't know what to say.
What about the natural well?
Run it dry.
No way. Not with all this rain.
Seems like it.
You got flood warnings for tomorrow. You're right. Just put a sheet out and catch the water.
Yeah, and we got the winds coming in tomorrow as well, haven't we?
Pin the sheet down. But yeah, you got flood warning, haven't you?
60-mile-an-hour winds tomorrow and Saturday.
Have you got your tunnel up yet? Has your tunnel turned up yet?
It's literally, I had a picture tonight. It's on the lorry. It will be here tomorrow morning.
That's starting it.
But it's not the right size. Let's run a book.
Yeah, don't, Crafty, please do not tempt fate on me.
It'd be that much too narrow. Yeah.
What about you, Rick?
Clearing the site, mate. Putting some more hoops up. More tunnels going over some of the old ponds. Yeah. Sean's. We found another polytunnel, and it was 60 centimeters too narrow. So we've managed to cut some pieces out of another one. Extend the hoops. Right. It should. It'll work. It's just be like everything else at work. It'll be a little bit skew-whiff.
But it'll do the job, mate. It looks like a bit of a mammoth task that you've been set yourself. Wow. First question. Why have you left it so long and not got it going? Why have you had all that potential there but not made use of that space?
Different, yeah. So we had two other sites. One, so the owner of all the land owned all the other sites. We've got that, and there was another one. I had 70 10-ton ponds on another site, but that was sold, so I lost 70 ponds. And it's the investment that was when that went. That's a lot of investment gone. And that site, yeah, when we lost the roof to that big shed, it's one of those. Yeah, it's so disheartening. We just secured everything and obviously kept the ponds running, but it's just not viable anymore. It's not producing much for what it should be producing. But Sean's always been like, I don't want to invest any more money up there. I could lose it because obviously it's families, isn't it? We don't physically own it.
Yeah.
Although it's in his family, which is like the other site, which we thought was fine, and then next week it's gone, and 70 ponds, all the
So
work.
you could end up being like with the Munger tunnel bit, and then having to get
Yeah.
rid
So,
of
so he's like, I don't want to invest anything, and we're so busy that it was such a mammoth task. We've been putting it off.
That is a mammoth task, mate. But
It's worse.
yeah. What's the block work like? Because
The block work of the ponds is fine.
right, so that's a bonus.
Yeah, no. To be fair, all 12 10-ton ponds in that shed, the ponds are fine. We're only stripping them out because we're going to tell them we might as well just reline them and do the insulation a bit. When we originally did it, we only did it with 2-inch insulation on the sides. But if we're going to redo them, I've got enough stuff up there to do it probably 4-inch all round. So then we can heat them in the winter if we want as well and whatever. So it's just one of those things. Carl's been looking after it. That's part of his daily task, and it's just too big. Just looking after the fish is enough time without doing all the work. But crack on. It's just one of the things.
If you had to go to so much trouble to replace all those walls and everything, because a lot of them are pretty shot out, aren't they?
Yeah,
that's a lot of structural timber frames and everything to start building again. Would it?
We'll never do that.
Polytunnel the lot.
That's what I want to do. That's what I've wanted to do for a decade since we lost the roof. But again, it's one of those things. It's not so much the investment, but it's because there was an original structure there. We're fine to put a massive polytunnel on it, but it's because no one lives on that site. It's pretty vulnerable. So at the end of the day, if you start put a big polytunnel up there and we've got 100 grams worth of fish up there, what's going to stop someone going up there and robbing it, kind of thing? It's a difficult one, and we've been round and round and round with it as to make it. Yeah, the farm just got basically it's too big. When you build it, it all works right. When it goes wrong, it's just a nightmare, isn't it? For 3 people to build it, it's bad enough dealing with the main site, let alone that lot. And that's not the only fish house up there. So we haven't shown the full extent yet. So
there's a quick message there from Vincent Ring. He says, I had some amazing koi delivered today from New Forest Koi. There you go, mate. Bit of positive spin.
Yeah. No,
well, major task. Is that your big project then for this winter period? Through into the next season, or you just steady away until you get it up and running whenever it's up and running?
Well, the 12 ponds most of them are up and running with fishing already. We've just got to
cover it.
We just want to get it just sorted out there. So we've got 3 outside ponds. Again, the problem with them is some of the land's been sold, so draining them, it's on a hill. When we drain them, it goes across someone else's land, which isn't great. There's so many sort of issues with it. We set it all up, and then it was like, actually, it's like setting up a fish farm, but it's in the wrong kind of place. But you've got the land to do it. It's like Matt doing it on his shoot or whatever. It's a great idea, but when you've got to do an hour's journey to go and visit it, and you can't look after it, and it's vulnerable, it's not such a good idea, is it?
No.
So, yeah, we'll have a polytunnel over 2 of the ponds by, I don't know, 2 weeks. Then I'll get the 3 outside ones that are good enough. I'll have them done, and then I'll have another polytunnel with 2 new ponds in another one by Christmas, and we'll have another polytunnel by early March. It'll be done up there. What we can do will be sort of done by March, because by then we're too busy to do any more up there.
More space, though, mate, won't it? A lot more wiggle room.
Yeah, we need. Yeah, it's always a juggling act, isn't it? But 10 ponds you can look after really well, produce a lot more than 50 ponds that you can't. Even up there when we lost the roof, suddenly the herons annihilated it.
Yeah.
So we then having to try and put predator net over it, which was not very good. And then it's just one thing after another. Then it snowed. The netting we'd used, the snow clung to it, smashed down what we'd put up. It was just like you're fighting a pain.
But if you got like you say, for your big polytunnels, everything would drape over, wouldn't it? You keep more eating there, you get better growth in there and everything. It's a win-win, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, when we did it 15 years ago, that fish house was amazing. 12, 10, probably 10-ton ponds, all fully filtered, and they were all heat controllable on propane. it was
that was an expensive
treat.
hike, though.
But yeah, not only when we lost the roof, we lost the electrics, we lost a lot of the like the boiler system, whatever was attached to the side of the shed. When we lost that, it just rolls on and rolls on. The amount of damage that was done, that you just melts your brain.
What about you then, Crafty? How's your week been?
Quarantining, that's coming to an end now, so it's got about 5 more days left for quarantining. So that's gone really well. Battling quite a heavy strain of fluke in the indoor main pond at the minute. That's not going quite so well. And mass amount of photography going on for all the NIS sites that we've shipped in. I think we've got, in essence, about 160 NISI in total that we've broke the back of in the photographing world now. So, and we're waiting to do a mass upload of them because I want to put them all on at the same time rather than drip feed them through. So, that's it's been more focusing on the lads being able to do the photography. So there's been a few days wasted where the photographs are not to the standard that's required, and a little bit of a learning curve with sitting down, doing a couple of hours sitting down, going through the results, saying, right, good, not good, not good, not good, not good, not good. That one's okay, not good, not good. And then eventually one of the lads has really picked it up. Little Harry has done a fabulous job. So I've now got the ability to go, right, I need these photographing rather than it all land on me to do. So he can now do it. So I've given the responsibility now of photographing the rest of the fish to the standard that's required on top of his normal daily duties. So, and, I was showing you the other night, weren't I, what the editing is. It's literally 3 button clicks.
Yeah.
And when you've got the good picture, you can literally go, right, isolate, cut, paste the blue background in, done. So there's no manipulation. It's just literally cleaning the background up. So we've now got that down to the T where it takes literally 25 seconds for editing to get it into the right place. Because time is money at the end of the day. Photographing fish on its own takes a huge amount of time. Editing takes further time. If you ain't got that down to a T, then it just consumes so much of your time.
Yeah.
Unreal.
Especially with the amount of fish you've got. Go on, Matt, what were you going to say?
What software are you using, Crafty?
Photoshop. Yeah. It's quite an expensive product to do what we do, to be fair, but it's worth every penny. I've used Adobe Suite for 8-9 years. So not just Photoshop, all the other programs that come with it for different things. But using Photoshop's always a little bit of a learning curve. And to get it right, that's the key, mate. It's the photograph that's the hard part.
I think
breaking the code on the photographing. Once you work it out and can get the image that you want, it literally stops everything else from being a pain in the arse. So that's been the main meat of this month's or this week's work.
Got to be done, though, innit? If you ain't got a good photo, the amount to discuss as many times trying to get a good photo makes all the difference, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's really nice when you get the first shot as well. When you get it on the first shot, it's like literally in the water, snap, next. And then you'll get a fish that takes 45 minutes to get the right shot.
The amount of times here, Pam normally does the photos with me, and the amount of times I've walked in there and all I can hear going, "You fucking bastard, will you stay still?" And all it's doing is doing that round and round and round, and you see it just getting ready to line up, take the photo, and I think
and then it'll flick. Yeah, and a lot of the time, the hard thing is when they like to stick to the side of the bowl. That's the pain in the end. It don't matter how many times you bring it to the centre, it'll always move itself straight back over.
One of the farms in Japan's got that nicely curved bowl in it, so it's long and curved, so the fish naturally go down the middle and come towards you. I don't know where you get that from, but
yeah, again, if you got something over here like that, Rick, mate, it's going to cost you 300 quid, isn't it, just to get moulded?
I know, but at the end of the day, that's the amount of time that would save you. You know, like last year we tried to get 1,000 fish onto the website. We had Danny in there, and she was good at it. And it was like, yeah, let's see if we can get 1,000 individuals on. And it's like,
how many did you get on? Do you know?
I think we got to about 800 and something last year. We're way off. We
That's
haven't
a slog,
done anything this year because
it's a slog. Photographing is a mundane task, but when you get it good, you know, you feel a sense of achievement. To be honest,
but all the cheats you can use, the better.
100%.
So if you had a bowl that made them naturally sit in the middle and come towards you, that'd be a lot of the effort done, wouldn't it? But I know what like they'd use it as a skate ramp. They go side to side. And then...
I was going to say the ones we have, they'd be like on their side and stuff. Saying, see, the hard thing is fish. They hold themselves in the water different. So what the lads couldn't get in their head, although those getting the right perspective shooting down, some of them would sit slightly off. So when you put them on screen, on the little camera screen, it looks fine. As soon as you transfer it onto the big screen, and you go, that eye looks that big, that eye looks that big. That's right. And then you've got more side of one body. So even the profile starts to look off. It's like you have to be so particular. Otherwise, your pictures look like you got a fish from fucking Quasimodo land.
First question that we've got for the evening is from our Dave. And he says, if you've got tamasaba in your koi pond, is there any medication treatments you cannot use? I think goldfish are like hard as nails anyway, aren't they? It's more probably the other way around.
They're the same. It's basically the same. The weird thing is, like Supervan, which isn't licensed for fish, but I don't recommend using it. But if you did, it will kill goldfish like that. But does different various amounts of damage to koi. It's weird.
Isn't it Melton?
Yeah, Supervan, man. That's even if you're not harming your fish immediately, it's been tested and there's thoughts potentially long term. There's a huge amount of damage it can do in a year or 2 years' time.
It's supposed to do
neurologically. The word I'm looking for.
Neurologically.
Neurological damage. Yeah.
It's some strange stuff.
Other than that, with normal goldfish, with tamasabas in with your normal koi, all treatments should be perfectly fine as long as you're not avoiding that type of one.
Yeah.
Look on the bottle. Before you put anything in, look on the bottle, and if it's harmful to certain varieties, it will tell you. So tamasaba will fall into the realms of goldfish. That's that as a rule of thumb. That's the one.
That didn't work. Failed. As a rule of thumb, should be good. What about this one then? This one's probably a little bit more. How fast to safe to reduce your pond heat? Taking it from 25 to 18 over the last month, but moving house and I need them down further to ambient temperatures before they go into a temp pond. So going from 18 degrees to 4 degrees, how slowly do you need to bring them? Well, ambient 6, 4, 8, whatever it might be.
A degree a day is the old sort of school, and they reckon half a degree every 24 hours that's how a koi can fully adapt to the temperature. Half a degree a day, but our fish will go from 30 degrees to 20 degrees in the summer down. They'll go all over the place. In a natural pond, they move themselves in all sorts of temperature swings. But the degree a day is pretty safe if you can just keep dropping it.
That's what Lee did for his showing him, wasn't it? He brought them down a degree a day till he could take them down to 12, 13 degrees or 14 degrees for the show, wasn't it? That we're going to.
Yeah. I've done 2 degrees a day and had no issues as well. You know, it's just if you've got the time, do your degree a day. If you've got the time to achieve that, you know. If not, if you've got a little bit more, 2 degrees, I've had no problems with.
But I mean, for heat ramping in quarantine, you're doing it big changes quickly. Yeah. That's the point. That's what you're doing.
To stress them.
To bring stuff out and put them in temperature zones that. To be fair, my little ones have had it today. I set the heat pump on 20, I must have set the wrong thing because suddenly it went mild. It was 24 degrees in there. And it was like, oh, they're buzzing. And then for one reason or another, I lost a load of water, and then the only water I had was freezing to top it back up. So they've gone 24, 17, they're all over the shop. They don't seem to care. They absolutely still climb out of the water.
Yeah, you've just reminded me, the Oda can grow and show fish completely through the sleeping illness with no losses. And they are proper on it now. They've already grown probably 2 centimetres.
I hope mine has.
Oh, mate, they're starting to look better and better every time I look in. Yeah.
So for all those that's wondering what that poll's about, I had a certain conversation with a truck driver.
Mate, you've missed none off. You've missed nothing.
Come on. I can't have bacon sandwich without nothing.
That's
So
how
it would just be bacon then, wouldn't it? Would you have yours plain?
Just as it comes out the tin, mate.
Don't get bacon out of a tin.
You're fucking doing the army, mate.
All right. Yeah, I haven't even thought that one, but yeah, I guess it probably would be. So, yeah, the question is brown sauce, HP, obviously, none of that cheap, inferior crap daddies and everybody else, because it's just not right. It's either HP brown sauce or tomato ketchup.
If I was to choose out of one of them, it's always red sauce for bacon and brown sauce for sausages.
I could kind of go with that, but I do prefer brown sauce with bacon. If
You're all wrong. You put red on one slice and you put brown on the other. Bam.
Well, I was expecting you to say chili sauce.
I do.
That's a bit like a fruity HP fruity sauce then.
Yeah, bang two. You have a little bit of chili as well.
And mayo in the middle.
No, you don't put mayo on that. Maybe a touch of mustard. You got sausages, but yeah.
So just to clarify, it was literally so that we can tell the truck driver he was wrong by saying it was red sauce 100%. It's the law, it's the rule, it's the rule of the road and the rest of it. He gave me a long list of reasons this morning as to why it should always be red sauce, not brown.
Well, it's brown according to the survey.
The poll said this. Our survey says up to press. We got 60% say brown sauce and 40% say red. I'm sorry, Chris.
That's not unanimous, is it?
Budget pond keeper.
We're not ready yet. With that poll still running,
We can leave it running. We'll leave it running and see what it's been going 7 minutes. But so far, we're saying 61% to 39. Sorry, just thought we'd have a little bit of a laugh and a giggle and get Chris involved in case he was still out there driving his truck. But we'll leave that for now. Right then, so a degree a day, ideal. If you wanted to push it, you can do 2. Next one we've got is Craig Stubbs says, question for Crafty. Hey, Crafty, Lee Hadfield.
Yeah, I agree. What does that mean?
I don't know. I thought it would go to something you might know. Oh, sorry, there we go. Question for Crafty. Lee Hadfield said, Orican koi food, very good in Japan, especially the colour foods. There any chance you can get that in the UK, into the UK?
No.
Oh, yeah.
Short answer. You can't, mate, because Odakan, I don't believe mass produces it to an extent where he makes money on it. He makes it solely for his own farm. And not only that, but there's no way I'm going to put it in my suitcase to get back because it's heavy.
You bring one bag back. In your
Just one bag. You know, you fish, you're going to do well on that. But no, mate, on a serious note, no, there's a lot of no's involved in that, unfortunately. Otherwise, I would.
Oh, shit. Umbakai says, evening all, just out in the garden, pond's off, got a blockage in my inlet pipe. Oh, no. That'll be a frog or something.
Is he bottom drain?
No. Well, yes, but retro. Big gang of leaves, probably, mate. Same as, excuse me,
Leaves
same as
come in gangs today.
leaves are a pain in the ass this time of year, man.
Mate, there's gangs of leaves around here. You have to be careful. I see one wearing a big gold chain the other day.
We'll have your wallet in no time, wouldn't they?
Richard Bradbury says, get Vince a caravan up there, Rick. You should be able to get that smashed out for you in a couple of weeks, no time.
You'll have to get planning permission for that, mate.
That's
No,
temporary.
we'll stick it in one of the, we'll put it in one of the sheds. Don't need planning if it's in one of the sheds, mate. Some of those sheds are big enough. They're ridiculous, mate. You could have a bloody koi show in one of them.
My question was, sorry, I'm just butting Rick. Sorry, mate. I did get asked up there from Sarah. Why aren't you using my Christmas cup? I shall. Merry Christmas, Al. I will make sure I get a broom head in it.
Let me get that closer.
That's wicked, isn't it?
Oh, I thought it was something else from a distance, but yeah.
Merry Christmas. But thank you very much, Sarah. Appreciate it. It's going to be perfect for this time of year. Sarah says, question for Crafty. When are you doing your next koi auction?
I've not decided yet. Given the standard of the bidding on the last one, I'll be transparent. Slightly with the amount of work that goes into it, the return that we was getting wasn't the best. So I'm going to put it down to it being Christmas and use that time to photograph koi to get them up on the website and dollar elsewhere. But maybe next Tuesday, maybe not. I've not decided yet. But in the new year, we will be having a bit of a festive event with regards to bargains and koi.
Sweet.
I had to leg it out on the last one. I was waiting for those Sankeys to turn up, and then I had to go out.
Missed out, didn't you?
In the bowl or whatever. I thought they were all coming on.
No, mate. Mate, for the money that we get for them, it was always better to put 5 in a bowl and let people bid against the fish that they wanted, because unlike other dealers that do an auction once in a while, we don't get the same return as those people, which is fine, because they've all got their own customer base. So it's like, how do we get the best value? Because I can't be seen to be turning all of the time the top end koi that a good 700-800 quid toes eye. I can't turn them out for 300 quid. Just can't, because and although people say put your best koi on, that's fine. I can put my best koi on all the time, but if they're not gonna fetch the money that they deserve, that's not gonna happen, because that's just
if you put a starting bid on a 500 quid, which is your minimum you'd accept, you don't bid. You put it on 99p.
Yeah,
run up to 500 quid, but it might go. It is.
Or it'll stop at 200. It's like a lot of time wasted.
It is difficult, isn't it? It's difficult to get a right fine balance, because no matter what you do, we've tried it both ways, haven't you? And it swings up one way sometimes you get, and then others you're just done. If it's not easy, not easy at all.
Yeah, it's when you. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's a frustration watching other koi dealers and how their auction goes, but I have to put things into perspective. The marketing that happens on other channels is sometimes better, sometimes worse, and that there's a reflection in that, but also the customer following that is grown off of a reputation of 8 years. Although my company's been going for 8 years, it's only really been recognised in the koi world since I took over, and I'm not trying to blow my head up or anything, but even big time hobbyists didn't know perfect aquatics existed until I started to socialise, like put it on the map. So I've got I'm a year and a half in, and the results that we've achieved in that time is fucking mind blowing in comparison. It's the biggest, like the koi department is the biggest growth part of the company out of the whole establishment. I'll tell people now, I was playing it down, but figures that we've done 110% up on the year previous, right? And that's how well the koi department's developed this year. So that comes through a lot of hard work, graft, reassessing, a lot of YouTubers, YouTubing, and everyone on here has all played a part of that as well. It's better
fish.
Well, there's a lot of things, mate. It's better fish.
Fish.
More fish, better fish, auctions, better social profiling, better marketing, events. There's, none of that was happening on anyone else that was running that koi department or that shop, actually. So I let the Marines and Trots just tick over, and we've got plans for in there for next year. But this year was aim at the koi. So and we've done a fab job there. So all we've got to do now is transfer what we can do from the koi department into the other departments and see if we can grow them, because the industry is fucked. We're going to buy the hard industry at the moment.
Is there YouTube channels for marine fish, etc.? Like
There
this?
is, yeah,
Channels for
there
everything,
is.
mate. Absolutely everything. You name it, there's a YouTube channel for it. Guarantee you.
The
Try me
problem
for
you've
science.
got, Matt, with like marine aquascaping is a huge thing at the
Yeah,
moment.
it is massive.
But when you look at trops and marines, every single variety and every single species, they all look identical unless you get a really superb one that stands out. But there's nothing that they can only live with certain varieties, and all depending on your setup, you don't know what you can't have, or you're really tunneled. Yeah, there's another one there. It's so really it's like with this is the comparison that I've been learning myself. It's like what makes koi so different in that aspect of fish keeping. Well, it's because I like to use that every single koi's got its own fingerprint. Not one is the same. Not even a single coloured fish is the same. Because there's different qualities of single coloured fish. But in the marine and trops world, none of that happens really. You can get some really lovely top quality pieces, but they all start this big, finish that big, look different when they're little, and change into some different beast in the marine world. But trop fish, majority of the time, just that's what they are. They get a little bit bigger, but they keep the exact same identity.
Sauce, sauce, Christine. Brown sauce or red sauce? Tomato ketchup or HP?
The other thing is shipping. The other thing is shipping with marine as well. Can't do it.
I suppose that's temperatures and quality, water qualities and parameters and stuff, won't it, for marine? I would have thought they'd be a lot more delicate than what you'd got with your colds.
Oh mate, yeah. When they come in, guys, it's like sometimes they're on their arse, mate. You have to acclimate them, like dribble, feed water into a bucket with them in there, and like all sorts of weird shit. I don't get involved in it because I don't know enough about it, but they're so delicate, especially when I don't even net the marine tanks or the drop tanks, mate, because when it's time to catch them, I feel like Rizzler papers in my thick skin mitts. When you're gripping fish like carp and that, it's like you get them and oh shit, just popped its eyes. I haven't really done that, but that's the feeling.
They are fine, delicate things, aren't they?
Or you get them in the net and you're like, where the fuck are they? They disappear, and that's like, I can't do that, mate. That's not me. So,
Rob Foxy has turned around and said, when setting up parent sets, does every breeder check they are not interbreeding in any generation, or does it not matter as much? Matter so much in koi like it does in other animal species?
Unfortunately, there's a lot of interbreed. Might be otherwise. As you stay lined, that's the problem with it. Yes, you can crossbreed out. Hardier, grow better, whatever you're trying to achieve, but you tend to lose the quality pretty damn quickly. You've only got to take Shirat series, for example, right? So 25 years ago, Omasako had one parent set. Yeah, this parent set. And the offspring from that pair of fish are basically everyone's that they use to breed them, isn't they? So yeah, there's a lot of, and that's why koi, some lines are weak. And then you get new blood come in and they cross stuff, but there's only so many places to start.
What's the weirdest fish that you've grown or seen then, Rick? Like with the pheasants, I've seen them with one single eye smack in the middle, with the cows, no nose.
Yeah, I've seen them as well, actually, Matt.
I've seen a sheep with 5 legs. What can you have with a fish?
I see a chicken with 4 legs, mate. They bred it for Sunday roasts. No fucker could catch them, mate. Kept getting away.
The weird thing with koi, you don't get Yeah, I think you get some weird where the fins, the dorsal fin might grow down the side of the body and whatever, but whether that's damage that happens when they're tiny that they survive, or whether that's genetic, you do get some weird shapes. But yeah, you don't get crazy extra eyes, or you just basically it's the weakness, isn't it? And the small deformations that you get, like with showers, the head shape and the body shape,
Yeah.
which is not noticeable when they're small, but as they get bigger, becomes obviously more noticeable. But yeah, it's such a sort of genetic weakness that it's probably always been more. You always are trying to achieve better Benny, better Shiroji, better Sumi, better body shape, but inherently somewhere you're going to lose ultimate growth, hardiness, or you just can't have your cake and eat it, really, can you?
Imagine having a fish that's got legs. That'd be weird, wouldn't it?
Axolotl, isn't it, or whatever? Newt, kind of a fish with legs. Yeah, I think there's more work goes into and more knowledge about what. Obviously, it's easier to keep track of fish now with the digital world we live in. You know where stuff's come from. You've got photographs. You got, back in the old day, you just have to remember your brain cell or whatever. But yeah, to create what they've created, there is inbreeding goes on. But obviously, if the blood gets too thick, that's when you have problems. So you bring in a fish from somewhere else that might hopefully have different blood to make them stronger, and you have to make fish that suit, there's no point us breeding fish that are super high quality but can't tolerate the English climate with an unheated pond, because 95% of our customers won't be able to keep those fish alive. So, we could achieve a goal and create these amazing Sankeys that no one else can keep. There's not a lot of point in that for us. So
one thing I will say is, Rick, that your fish cope very well with cold water, extremely well.
Yeah, they're still swimming around out there.
But I was talking to one of the lads at the shop this week, actually, because we was looking at the outdoor ponds that have been left open against the indoor ones, and your fish the last lot, we ain't got a load, not that many left really, considering the time of year, but the amount of body and everything they've just been so easy to keep in comparison to the Japanese variety, that actually it opened up my eyes a little bit into some of the issues that we see are put down to the Japanese bloodline against the English bloodline over here with the parameters that they've been brought up in. And your fish that I've seen are very easy to keep in comparison. Minimal issues, like literally minuscule issues, if any. When we first put them in, there was a little bit of an outbreak, but not nothing that was deemed as issues, really. It's just something that's expected. And then from there, absolutely no problem, where I have fishing from Japan that are constantly up and down, and I've got to be put down to genetics over anything. We've had a lot more Japanese fishing than what we have your fish, so I've got a lot more to go on, and I've only had a few of your fish, so maybe there's a little bit of an imbalance in experience, but looking at what we've already had, very hardy in comparison.
But a lot of that variety, in it, variety base is massive as well.
Yeah, true that.
When you talk about line breeding, Rick, if we take a parent set, male and female, mother and father, spawn those, then put mother to son, father to daughter for the first line, where do you go from that point?
A lot of it will depend on, so obviously depending on the original parents as to how close they were
Originally. Yeah.
So obviously if I'm crossing a Gimri and a Sagi with an offspring, they're miles apart, and you put them together and you get offspring, then you've got more leeway to play with those closer. If I'm putting two shearers together, the chances are they're already, they might be, they're so closely related, and then use two of the offspring, you start getting a world of
mess real quick.
Yeah, but it's a difficult one because obviously there is only so many farms that produce certain fish of a good level, and so you obviously get your brood stock. The brood stock we got from the farms is just insane. I started listing it the other day, and it just blows your mind. But obviously, those farms, a lot of their fish are quite closely related. So, I might get a Donichi kahaku, but then get another kahaku from somewhere else. It's actually from Donichi parents anyway. So they might come from two farms, but actually be really closely related before I even put them together. Outcome might be all right, but then you start line breeding with those too close. Before you know it, you've got issues or whatever. It's difficult. You have to just pick the best. It's not always about the highest quality. It's about producing fish that there's a market for, and producing fish that you hope are going to develop longevity in a good quality. Yeah, it is a nightmare. It is a nightmare because when you do go, for example, we used to have some Sedazzo line Sankeys, an old school line of Sankeys, really pretty. They don't grow big, really pretty, but obviously Sedazzo line there is just the one line, one farm, put them together. Really, the amount of patterned fish and the amount of quality was off the scale. But those fish, every time you did anything with them, they were so genetically weak. It was like it's just
more failure than success.
Yeah, we could keep them alive, but every time they go off to other people, they have issues with them, and we see those issues, but we get them through it. They did get stronger with age, but it was just like it doesn't work for our customer base. It doesn't matter how pretty, everyone wants them, but no one wants a dead fish. So you've had the same experience. You brought a load of showers or whatever, you've done a show and grow, but how many of them came back? So many of them died that it's
that was quite an eye opener. That, to be fair, to do a show, growing show, to see only 8 of them come back. That was
If you've done
Down
that
to the level of the skill of the keeper as well, Gus.
Oh yeah, 100%. Some of them just random as no signs of anything, no whatever. But a lot of people always say that the shower line is probably one of the weakest, isn't it? But whether or not that's necessarily true, I don't know. But a lot of people assume that they are weaker.
Yeah, that's the problem. But you might get showers from one farm, from Momotaro, that's got his showers have got Mako blood in them from his original Sankey line, and they're not as refined, but they're much stronger. You might get a load of showers from Issa that you put in the ponds, and they are so temperamental. The right person can keep them because they can keep the temperature, they can keep parameters, and be on top of it. But for the majority of people that keep koi, they go in a pond, and first thing they know is wrong is when it's dead, isn't it?
55% to 45% on the bacon sandwich poll. Brown sauce, 62 votes out of all 126 here that are watching. With brown sauce takes it, Chris.
Only just
is a take. A win's a win. Susan's asked a quick question there. I treated my koi ulcers last week, and now it looks like there's a creamy colour, almost scab looking over the wound. Is this healing or them getting worse?
It basically is healing. If it's cream skin, the skin does look like a creamy colour. But what did you treat with, and is that just a short term? Ulcers are a nightmare. But they do go. As that skin regrows across, it is like a whitey creamy colour.
But what I would say is, Susan, right? I was just reading through the comments of certain people, so I'll put out that ulcers, like Rick says, is a nightmare situation. The best thing to do at the moment, what you're seeing in your fish, is a healing process. All right, now leave it the fuck alone. All right, but what you need to do is monitor that ulcer. If it looks like it's starting to become worse again, then that's when you intercept. Don't keep breaking that seal to put more treatment on for it to then redo that whole process again. Because all you're going to do is prolong that healing effect on the ulcer. Right? What you should be seeing is that nice cream scab fit. Not really a scab, but that cream looking substance come across the ulcer. The edges should look like it produces a ring around it. And then simply all that will happen is that skin will start to grow and that ulcer will start to disappear. Right, so just have to keep an eye on it. Where people go wrong with ulcers is they constantly mess about with them. And they're constantly breaking that up. So the fish has got to go through all of that rigmarole all over again. And every time you're opening that wound up, you're inviting issues. So try and keep it, just monitor it and watch it. And what should happen is you could, over time, and it takes a long time, that ulcer will start to disappear, hopefully, fingers crossed.
It's still a bit red to the centre area, but I'll leave it completely alone. Yeah, there you go. That just pretty much answered your own little bit of a question there. The wound is healing, but part of the ulcer is still a bit red. Do I treat the red area or leave it completely alone? So if it's starting to heal, leave it be and see if it completely closes up. And if it does, happy days. If it looks to get worse, treat as necessary.
What you got to remember is that fish aren't like us, right? So if we get a cut, we'll get a scab, and then all of that healing process happens underneath the scab, and then the scab falls off. A fish don't do that. It literally heals in front of your eyes, right? So like anything like that, it's very difficult to monitor what's going on. You'll just, all of a sudden, you'll realise that ulcer's not there anymore because it's got smaller and smaller to a point where it disappears overnight. You know, so there's no scabbing involved. All right. So the less you mess around with it, the better it is. It's like if you've got a scab and you pick that scab off, you start to bleed again.
You have to do, yeah, you do.
But you do, because that's how it gets you in it. But if you pull it off too early, then that healing process hasn't happened. So you'll start to bleed again, then you've got to do that all over again. All right. It's the same for a fish, but there's no scab involved. All right. That's the best way of looking at it.
Statement of the evening: see lots of fish fingers in supermarkets, but never managed to breed them in my pond.
Fucking useless.
Evening, Mr. State.
What is coming on? Miserable old git.
Not ready yet. It's not Christmas.
There we go. That's a question from Frank. Do koi ever throw back to grandparents like dogs sometimes do? That got you, didn't it? Right mid-mouthful.
Yeah. Yeah. Even more so. Yeah. The problem is most koi would technically, if you're going to breed kahaku, you use 2 kahakus, and you keep breeding kahakus. So yeah, they're going to be thrown back because the kahakus. How would you know what's a grandparent to anything else? It's only when you're like us that might go, well, actually, I'm going to cross this Shisui with this Sasagi to make a Gimrin to do this, and across this to do that, like golden corn. So you've got, if you bred golden corns, you will get offspring that are more Asagi like and more Krashigoi like. You'll get parents, your grandparents. It's all in the family tree. So depends on how. And this is we use quite a lot of Aoki parents, and all of this fish are like crossed, don't they? Basically, to create a lot of the stuff, to create Benny Kikakura and whatever, they in a few generations you use different stuff to create them. So when you breed them, you see all those different stuff come back in the offspring to different levels. But if you're just breeding kahakus that have been bred as kahakus for 20 generations, you're only ever going to really see kahakus. Unless one of those kahakus has come from a Sankey spawn or whatever else, and you start seeing. And that's where some varieties are perhaps easier. Some varieties are probably potentially harder. But yeah, you'll see all the genetics involved in the whole makeup of the fish, and it's part and parcel of it. So yeah, you get offspring you get Matsukawa back, and you turn up in Ochiba offspring or whatever. You get weird and wonderful stuff going on, which might show you more. So we've used parents from farms that are sold as a certain thing. You think they're a certain thing, then you breed them, and you get offspring that aren't what you'd expect. So you can see where actually someone's crossed something to create them, and you get to see them in the future generation.
Seska said there she can hear TV in background. Sorry, just bear me 1 second. Mr. Matt, I can hear Coronation Street in the background.
Oh no, Pam's on Coronation Street.
Sorry, I didn't see that. Ever since my K1 moving bed clogged last week and overflowed, it lost 1,400 gallons of K1 all over the ground. I cleaned the K1. Now my ammonia is rising. Worried about the stress this may cause. It's a process you're going to have to go through, unfortunately, to let it rebuild back up again.
1,400 litres of K1.
1,400 gallons overflowed and lost K1 all over the ground.
Oh, right. So the pond overflows, lost. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not looking at the comments, so I don't know. Yeah. Even worse if it dried out on the ground before you picked it up. Or you washed it with chlorine.
What did you clean it with?
Oh, you're in trouble, Matt. Pam, you cannot watch TV in your own house. Get out. Oh, well, did it?
Did you just get told where to go, Matt?
Sort of.
Take your laptop to the fish house. Get out of the fish house.
We got two sound systems in there. One that comes from the TV and one that's off the big woofer, whatever they call them.
The big woofer.
Subwoofer.
Subwoofer. And of course it carries, doesn't it? And that's what you could hear.
Yeah.
Coronation Street.
Well, I didn't. I could hear something mumbling, but yeah, I didn't realise it was coming through that much. I have my sound turned down. So. Probably killing beneficial bacteria. Right then, let's go on to the next topics that we've got. Anyway, if anybody, I'll just make sure. You're welcome, Seska. And I just thought I'll just put that back up again, just so Matt can read it. Fast guys, that was driving me mad. Check out the name of the channel, Matt. Seska's Reef and Pond.
I did forget about it.
He was asking if there was any YouTube channels that did reefs.
She shut a reef down, throw a load of our fry on. So it's no longer reef.
Well, no, yeah, technically. But it was, and it's still there, and it still exists. But there is quite a lot of them out there in the community anyway. Heck of a lot.
She grew her fish she used a marine tank, took the marines out, put some koi fry in there, less than an inch long, and they were 35 centimetres, 8 months later.
Quick question from Lee. Evening all. Is Rick having any Black Friday deals on the smaller fish?
We don't go in for all this. No. Basically.
They're fucking cheap enough, to be fair. Come on. I think his stock is too cheap, personally.
Too cheap, yeah.
Me too, mate. I agree.
Carlson was good. Oh, we'll do a fish of the day on Facebook or whatever, but it doesn't really work. It's social media, you've got to be on it all the time or kind of not. And once a week we might go on and do something, but it's not enough. So
it's got a massive, great big load of pond and polytunnels to be, so the prices are going up and down.
Come on, Matt. You got
as they need materials.
Right
then, quick one.
I was going to
go on.
Ask a little question for the. What's this?
Well, I don't know. It's back to front, and every time I point at you, it's that way.
Yeah, it's always the opposite mirror effect.
Does anybody use the liquid ammonia to mature a pond?
Liquid ammonia to mature a pond.
Nope.
Yeah. Because ammonia is ammonia, don't matter where it comes from. But if
Only
you have
piss.
You can buy
Yeah.
urea. No, you can actually buy urea ammonia. You can buy it in crystal form to put in your filters.
Yeah, but has anybody done it with any success?
We've been
And
doing
what
it for
level
years.
would you? What the way that I'm thinking, if you used it, you would want to bring up your ammonia level to something that you would normally see in a pond, and then keep it at that. So when you know the beneficial bacteria is working and the ammonia is dropping off, and your nitrites are coming up, you would add more ammonia, and you could keep adding ammonia to extreme levels, I guess, until the point where your filter can't cope anymore. So then you've got a mature pond already for
Just a bit.
February to add your new stock.
I know where
Because you
this
don't
is
want to
going.
be if you were getting me included in that as well. I'm in the same situation now. I can move sections of filters over to get them more matured up. But myself and individuals, if you had the ability to have a pond with no fish in and you were able to mature it all up to whatever level, rather than having to go through the new pond syndrome, it means then straight away that you can put in more stock into that pond without having to really worry about it. You see where I'm coming from?
Yeah. So what you do is you buy a tub of urea, which is in crystal form, and you can put a teaspoon in each pond or whatever a day. It will start. Obviously, that becomes your ammonia. It was to go through the cycle, but obviously the bacteria. It's not like you have to be exact. If you start maturing a filter, you've already got it. So you might take it too far for what weight of fish you're putting in there, but it doesn't really matter because it will cope.
It's just got back down. Got back down,
Right.
isn't it?
So we used to do it. Literally, you just put a load in. So you put a load of ammonia in there, and it just cycles and becomes a mature filter. It's not like we go every day and put a teaspoon in and teaspoon, and you just put a load in, let it go through the maturation process, and you know that the bacteria it's there, and obviously it will adjust to the amount of fish you're going to be putting in. So when you're putting in, say your pond, and you're bringing back 100 Jap tosa that have been starved to an inch of their lives, they ain't actually going to produce bugger all ammonia to start with because they've been prepared for shipping, so they're not producing that much waste. So your filters only have to be semi-mature, as it were, and then you can just build on that. She's then start introducing a little bit of food and then building the process. But you're obviously leapfrogging that new pond syndrome or whatever, or you can just take media from next door.
Yeah,
Because I'm thinking
take
if you had
next door and seed it.
The trouble with that is if
Yeah,
you take it next door, it's the health issues in it. So you might, if you want to make sure that there's no way of any cross-contamination, then you can mature a filter with no mature media that's come from somewhere else.
Yeah.
and you don't have, you still got to go through that sleepy disease, but you're in more control of it when you want to do it. Where if you're using your existing fish or you're taking filtration, this is on two parts with me and with a customer. If that customer wanted to bring back, say, 10, 60 centimetre fish and stock his
that's
pond.
what he just got. Sorry, there's no bringing anything back. Thank you very much. You don't mean back to your shop, do you? You mean back from Japan to here?
Yeah.
I'll take that
Then
back.
he wants to have that pond matured and ready to go, so that you haven't got the issues of all the new pond syndrome and all of the quarantine process all at the same time.
Yeah, so obviously the more you can mature the filtration, whichever way you do it, is better. And generally in February, most of the tosa you're buying will have been through sleeping sickness with the farm. Well, you ask the breeder. Have they or have they not? Some will, some won't.
Have many of yours, Crafty, had it? And in this
What's
side, I
that?
brought back your Nisai.
Nothing on this side. They've all sailed through the quarantine. Touch wood, still got 5 days left, but I would expect to have seen issues already. They should be fit and strong.
Quick one for you, Matt. quick question. What's the best silicone to use to stick a liner to a pond window?
The majority of them are all the same, actually. They're literally just being branded up with different names on there and sold. I know of 3 well-known ones are exactly that. It's all bought from the same place.
Manufacturers.
And you pay for the name. I use Aqua 40.
I use CT1.
Yeah, CT1 is another one. And all of those are about, I think, the Aqua 40 one I do for about £10 a tube. But
How much?
£10 a
How
tube.
much?
£10 a tube. Or if Twisted is on, it's going to be £18 a tube.
You're gonna need a lot. You're gonna need a lot. I've used all this CT.
Actually, the thing is, though, you see a lot of people that, and this really gets on my tits, man, when I see this every time that they do it. Everybody that puts a window in a pond, they put absolutely shitloads on, they squash it all in, and then they go, oh, do you know what? I'll just scrape all that off a window, which indicates you don't actually need half of what you're putting on. Less is more when it comes to silicone. It creates a seal. That's what its job is. The pressure of the water will hold that glass there anyway, won't it?
And on a window, do not put 2 bands of silicone around
No,
a
just
window.
one big thick bead.
Yeah, because basically what you get is the air trapped in between 2 beads.
Yeah, you get that void between it then where you have an air pocket in between it, which creates a weak point.
Yeah, because what will happen is the pressure of the water will push against that air and eventually it will pop one, whether it be going in or going out. It's still
if you want to see the way in which it's done and how to seal a window to any surface, check out a video on how they make a seal to a windscreen. When they fit your windscreen, they cut the nozzle and they cut it right fat and chunky, and they take a 45 out of it and they squash it flat so that your actual seal, instead of it sitting as a flat bed like your finger, it'll sit like a vertical triangle. So when you push it on and bed it in, then the whole seal creates a whole seal around the window. It's relatively simple. Don't do a Vince and slat it everywhere.
Don't do it.
Trowels and scrapers and then go, oh, God damn it, I'll get all that off there.
Vince has asked the professionals Vince has asked the professionals to come up and do it this time, so won't be an issue.
The professional.
When I see Vince when he's doing something, he's got it on his forehead, on his chin, on his arms, it's all over his fingers.
Yeah, but that's the whole point of DIY, mate. That's when I DIY.
It is DIY, mate. But every time I see guys do silicone sealant work all day long, every day a week, and it's always the less amount of silicone that goes in, and it makes a far neater job. And if you can't do a neat job, mask it off. Mask off your parameter, and then another side or the inside. Fill the gap in the middle. Peel the masking tape off. Perfect line. Push it in place. Job done. Simple.
But when you're siliconing a window mat, do you use straight beads or do you zigzag?
Generally straight.
Because zigzag can cause the same effect. If you get that point where one pocket or one zigzag overlaps into another, you end up with a void in the middle of it again.
Yeah.
What I normally do is literally work out and come in a centimetre from where the line is going to be. The line is going to be to the edge of the rebate. Do one solid line all the way down, tack it onto it all the way around, and then sit there and roll your finger so that the silicone is being pushed out to the inside of the window or to the window.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
The middle of the window. Push it out so it's coming to the edge of your liner, and then it will cause a little tiny bead all the way around the edge of your liner, and it'll be done.
Well, you can do this live. When you do Vince's, you can do a tutorial.
Yes, there you go.
No,
that's what
already told Vince there is no, it's not happening.
He's not going to give his trade secrets away, mate.
Oh, no, I don't mind him doing it, but he is not doing it live.
You want to do it, record it. Don't do it live. Do it recorded, then it won't look like Minecraft, and it'll also get people some real good footage on how to see it being done and done right.
Do it live, then people can learn from any mistakes.
I did four bottom drains and one window this week, and I've done so many of them now that I still come off the window with my hands shaking with the nerves, because if you balls it up, you're ballsing it up big time, especially when you're cutting down your liner, thinking, oh man, you imagine if I've just gone the rock. I always use a spirit level to do all your lines. And you imagine coming down the wrong side of your spirit level and you're actually cutting back onto the block work.
Yeah. Is that the bit where they say measure twice, cut once, Matt?
Yeah, in my case, I measure about 20 times and then cut once.
Leave a big overlap, be all right.
You only need to see like these massive windows, massive skyscrapers that they fit with fully glazed buildings completely. All those are sealed in with the smallest amount of silicon. It's unreal. And then the beading clamps it and holds it in place. But the seal and the bonding agent of it is a minimal amount. Food for thought. Andrew says Tropco do a product called Goop. You can put it in your aquariums and add fish instantly. I don't know if they do it for ponds.
No.
But if you imagine on a bigger picture, these. Yeah, I saw that. I was laughing at that one.
I really miss it.
Which one?
If you think about the process and the materials and equipments needed to make these silicones, these small companies aren't going to be manufacturing that product. They're buying it from somebody else and paying for the additional bit of having the logo put onto their silicone.
That's a good point as well. Rob, you bang on there, mate. It's not the silicone, it's the cleaning properly prior, really. It is. All silicone has to go onto a dust-free, grease-free, dry environment. If it isn't any of those free, you've got a chance of a failure. So it needs to be alcohol pre-wiped back, all your surfaces prior to being done. And then you've got 100% adhesion. So, good point, mate.
You say that though, but when you were just saying about Twister gets it everywhere, my hands are always dirty and it always sticks the hell out of my hands. In fact, you can see it in it. Well,
they call them latex gloves, mate. Don't get on there. You do an application. Done.
That's like putting a condom on. You don't get the same feel.
You don't have extra children either.
Oh dear.
Oh, I'm just saying.
I've heard this before as well. Capco do a mature K1. I know Elite Koi do as well, but I'm not so sure that's. How do you know if you're not buying something you shouldn't be buying?
Or adding something into your pond you don't want to add.
Well, I'm not saying you would. I'm not saying neither of those companies. I'm not saying that they've got anything before that gets taken out of context. But if you go, like Rick said there, if you went from your own system and took out a one VAT to a new VAT, you're running the risk of cross-contamination from your own stock to new stock. So if that's the case for doing it under your own system, surely you're running that same risk by taking any form of second-hand media from anywhere.
Well, no, because if I was to buy second-hand media, Gaz, right, that media is not going anywhere near my pond until I've completely.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's second-hand even if you're buying it from a shop. If they've got it in a system, maturing it up, it's used, so to speak.
But this is what I'm saying. They could be using normal ammonia that is fish-free.
Yeah, I suppose they could, mate. Yeah, they could be using a fish-based, not fish-cycled medias, but using an artificial product.
Yeah, well, you can cultivate this in the same sense. I can't buy PSB because that bacteria it's the same shit in it. You can cultivate stuff in an environment that's completely disease-free. That's not a problem in it. So you could buy mature media that's been nowhere near a fish.
Yeah.
The flip side, so we used to give media to people if they're buying fish from the tanks, it's a new pond, but they're buying the fish that have come with the media where they've come from anyway. So there's no cross-contamination issue because you're buying the fish anyway. But yeah, if it was media that's been matured in a system with other fish, then you've obviously got a small risk of transferring something you don't want.
So, and it'd be like crafty. It'd be like somebody coming and buying a fish from you, and you going, "Would you like some matured media that I've got out the back?" You're happy to sell a fish because we know that there's no issues with the fish. So the media is going to be exactly the same.
I wouldn't put
So
myself in a position where there's a comeback, mate.
Yeah, I wouldn't
No, I
think
know.
Personally, yeah, I can imagine that. I mean, I don't know how these guys are set up. I personally would not be selling any media that is deemed as, matured media, especially if it's coming out of a livestock pond. It's just
that. Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. So imagine you had a big vat, nowhere near any fish, and you just roll some cable in it.
Yeah, that's different.
Ammonia in it every day, and you mature
that's different.
it up. That's a completely different. And
yeah,
I'm not sure why it's not perhaps more of a thing, because you could have a giant vat of K1 that's rolling around, and you put a teaspoon of ammonia in.
Little Nick's asked, Little Nick's Koi Ponds asked, Matt, any good way of removing silicon from fiberglass? Well, I know you can get a product, but I don't know if it'd be fish safe, mate. But I know you can get a product from Screwfix, and it's a silicon remover. So you can remove silicon with a silicon remover. You apply it over the top of it, you leave it for 20 minutes, it softens it up, and then you can use a gentle removing tool like a plastic scraper.
You don't have to look $1 million inside your pond, guys. I promise you.
You never see
that ecosystem takes over, you won't even see it.
But you can also just cut it back, and you can use like a piece of bath towel, like a piece of white bath towel. If you use that and a bit of friction, i.e. rubbing it with that cloth and friction, give the friction rub on it and it will roll off, especially if it's only a matter of days, weeks old. The older the silicon is, the harder it is to remove it. I remove it off of baths all day long, mate. So it's a regular thing I do. A lot of time I cut the bulk off, get a piece of fresh bath towel cloth, give it a good friction rub, and it literally just peels straight off.
Oh, I like a good friction.
Yeah. Is it the Gorilla Rubs?
Yeah.
They get it off.
A lot of stuff softens it up, doesn't it? So you can just bring it off, and you should be able to get every last bit of it off.
If it's black silicone on black fiberglass, I would leave it alone. Especially putting any chemical onto the top
That's
coat.
how I
I would be worried.
with the chemical side of it, but friction-wise, you'll definitely be able to rub it off. Takes a bit of doing, mate. You end up with your thumb getting a bit sore, but it will come off. I've not got that. As for the bit on the glass, if you've got some on the glass that you're trying to remove off,
use a stainless steel blade.
Like this.
It's got to be.
I think I've got one here. He says somewhere. Shut up.
You talk to Google, and my Google's just gone off.
Yeah, just make sure it's a stainless steel one.
Yeah, stainless steel blade like that, mate. Nice flat. You can get little holders for them to go in, but gently, man. Don't scratch your glass.
And the worst thing you can do when you're putting a window in, if you get silicone on the window, leave it alone. Let it go hard, and then it will peel off or scrape straight off.
Yeah. If you get it on the outside of the glass, not the inside, you can just use a bit of standard thinners and it'll wipe straight off. Wet. Literally, wipe straight off. It instantly neutralizes it.
So you're going to do a live when you put Vince's window in then? You've got to do it live.
None of it's live.
Got to do it live. The thing with live, mate, is you see the good, the bad, and the ugly, didn't you?
Yeah, but it's not my ugly that I'm worried about.
Yeah, but it's like anything, isn't it? That's if you edit it, when you do a thing and it's all edited and it all looks great, it looks great. But in reality, that's not reality, is it? The reality is when it all goes tits up and you've got to get out of a shit storm because that pipe leaks, that split, that done whatever. That's the good bit about it. How do we get around this? People are doing their own ponds and have to get through this stuff.
Yeah, I'd like to just like be organised.
You just can't cope, can you?
Nah. It is honestly for me, cutting a window is the main one, and the bottom drains is the main.
The sensible thing to do, mate, is right. This is your business. Record it, edit it, and make it good. Because if it goes out, that's your reputation, mate. So do it once and do it right.
Do it once, but not live.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. No, I just want it so that the average person can see a not a perfect job, but how it should be. The last thing I want people thinking, "Oh Christ, look how difficult it is doing it," because in most cases it's not. It's pretty simple. No, even like the one I've done this week, I had a bloody dog in the background barking and barking and barking and barking, and
You should put your dog away before you come out.
It was just it drives you nuts because all you're focusing on, as soon as you hear it, is the bloody dog, and you're trying to do the window.
Earplugs, man. Or just say to the homeowner, "Put your dog inside, please, mate, before I drop kick you in the head."
Drop kick you.
I need to concentrate. Scrag68 put in there thoughts on food falling on from the auction food debate with pedigree bumming everyone on sake.
Auction food debate.
Yeah, we were doing live of a week. We were talking about how sake is in all small pellet form might be this, that, and other, a replacement, a good quality food which will be as good, doing the same job, and everybody's thoughts on what foods to use. All right, let's put it this way. If sake was no longer available tomorrow and they said, "That's it, we're stopping, we're going bust, we're shutting up,"
I'll be well happy.
What would be a good alternative?
At the end of the day, there is decent alternatives out there, and there'll be more and more coming, aren't they? That's the thing. It's good, but there is other good foods out there. But they all cost decent money, don't they? So, don't know. On the food debate, Joe give me a message of it. I go, shit, someone's selling 15 kilos of koi food for 35 quid delivered.
I saw the video too.
No, he was messaging me about it, and I said, well, yeah, but let's put that into perspective. 35 quid delivered anywhere in the country, that's 10 quid delivery, 7 or 8 quid tax.
It's a cart-based food.
Whatever. So already down, they're selling it at 18 quid a sack. That's the problem. So where are they? So obviously they're buying it from Allah. So
Allah something feeds or something over, isn't it?
Allah Aqua, we've had foods from Coppens. So they're cheap foods.
But it's got a 54% protein.
No, it's fair.
That's why I looked them all up. They've got one that's 54% protein.
Allah Aqua are like Coppens. They got hundreds of foods. You can get 164-page database of all their foods.
Tons of them. The one that were 54 was for staging food. But
yeah, but that's the one that's selling at 35 quid is a cheap floating.
Yeah. The
sturgeon food has to be much higher protein, higher fish meal content. It's a better food because it has to be.
It was a dude that was on YouTube called Chagman. He's trying to grow 100 cm chag, and that's his journey. That's what he's doing. He's only got about 54 subscribers. It's a relatively new channel, but it's got some big fish in his pond. He's not a novice by any way, shape, or means. He's got a channel out there that is just. I think he must have just started. But his process that he's trying to do is grow 100 cm chag, and he's selected loads of these chags, moved them into his main pond as 40 to 45 cm. I think the Nisai, and that's his process. And he said the food that I've been feeding has been this food, and I can get this food at 35 quid a bag. But he said I've fed 20 odd bags of it this year. But when you look on the system, You only get them at that price if you buy 20 bags.
Yeah, no, you can get it at 35. I think it's one bag. You still can get it at 30. But the point is, again, if he's trying to grow a jag to a meter, right, which is it's not that difficult to do as long as the genetics are right. But why would you hinder yourself with a crap food rather than, if you're going to buy a decent fish from a good bloodline and have it in a heated pond, why are you then going to scrimp on the food? Why wouldn't you give it a decent food? And you could grow a jag to a meter on sturgeon food. I'm not joking. It's just, if you've got 30-degree water, you can feed. You're not worried if your only objective is to grow up massive. Then
what other fish was he trialing it on, Gary?
He'd literally got some Ginrin Karashi, about 4 in a bowl. He'd got about 25 chags and 1 Hiyatsuri. And that was it.
Surely then, whatever the food he's giving isn't a really good comparison when he's only feeding it to the chags.
Well, but I think the process of what he's doing is literally to just grow a chag to 200 cm. I think that's what his aim. That's what he's trying to do, and he's cycling through select amount of chags to do it. I think he likes chags, mate, because his pond was full with chags and Karashi guy, and that was pretty much it. There was maybe the odd Sankey in there. There were, and he actually said, if you're here to see Go Sankey, then find another channel because you definitely ain't going to see him here. So
I think that's the difference. So you could probably buy out there cheap and wonderful food, and you could give it to the chags, the single colour fish. But then when you're giving that food to others, the Gosankis or anything like that, you're going to see the difference.
It's not just about Gosanki. You'll see a difference. Okay, if you had 2 identical chags and you grew them on 2, you could feed them a cheap, not even a cheaper dart or an expensive dart. You'll see a difference in body conformation, all the different things. So yes, you could grow it to a meter, but will it have loads of fat on its liver? Will it be this? There's so much. Just growing a fish big is one little bit of it. Saki sells itself on. It's not on growth, is it? It's all about quality of skin, quality of internal organs, longevity of life, skin luster, all these things. It's not just about growth. You could feed. This is literally just going back to the old days, the good old days, 25 years ago, when you could heat a pond to 27 degrees and pour trout pellet in there. They will grow like fucking crazy. You can pour high quality trout pellet into that pond and they will absolutely fly. But they will, the fat that they build up on their organs, it's not a food designed for that species. It's a food designed for a different species. That's why do commercial fisheries, when trout pellet was always all right, and then suddenly actually, let's use a coarse fish pellet that's designed for this species of fish. It will still grow massive, but you might have to use more of it. But it's designed for that species. Those people that grow the fish, kill them, cut them open, and see what's done to the internal organs, see what it's done to the longevity of the fish. That's what these feed companies do. You could grow a fish massive on dog food. I've done it.
Yeah, you've done it. Yeah,
massive on cat food. You can grow a fish massive. The biggest carp in the world are being grown on hemp, maize, basically being fired into Euro Aqua in the most insane quantities. Doesn't mean it's the best food to have the nicest looking fish. Yeah. They're called massive, but they're not necessarily that pretty.
Yeah, they end up being rather big, bulgy bellied things, don't they?
That's the genetics of the fish to grow massive, and the food they're given, and the amount of food that goes in that lake is off the scale. Like you just wouldn't believe. But growing fish is one part of it, but obviously without the temperature, you're never going to grow them big. Without the right genetics, you're never going to grow them big. If you're paying for high quality koi, even if it's a chag from jumbo lines, and you're heating your pond to 25, 30 degrees, I don't get why you then scrimp and giving them a food that might cause them problems further down the line. They are. There's 3 or 4 food manuals: Scretins, Coppens,
Yeah.
they're literally they produce fish food for whatever species of fish. And just because you can buy a fish food that's cheaper doesn't make it necessarily
Better.
So we go full circle, and we've used them all. 30 years we've been doing it, and we've used everything you can imagine. And you're always hunting for the holy grail that's cheap but good. Generally it doesn't really work, does it?
No, something gives or something cuts or something ends up being lesser better ingredients.
I mean, Aqua, the way they put the food, so when you go on that screen you were just on, and it says this food and this is the ingredients.
It doesn't tell you any single ingredients in any.
You can get on the fact sheets and it gives you the ingredients, but they do it. So when you buy a sack of food, it has to be labelled what the greatest ingredient first. But in their fact sheets, they do it in small print. This is labelled in alphabetical order, or whatever. So you might have fish meal and blood meal and good ingredients that are the first ingredients you see, and then further down this, wheat and byproducts of cereal. But actually, when you buy the food, the first ingredient will be byproducts of cereal and wheat and whatever, because how they have to label it. They have to fulfill a role. The big food manufacturers have to use ingredients that are sustainable, which is why you've got insect meal coming into stuff, barley extract, broad bean. I think Coppen's top coin, the main ingredient is broad bean. That's their exclusive top of the range koi food. Main ingredient, broad bean. So, but that's what they have to do to fulfill their obligations as a big food manufacturer. And you can't have high quality, semi-digestible fish meal. Oh, because actually in Europe we can't use that as the main ingredient of our koi food. It's not commercially viable. It's not. Yeah, it's one of the reasons, isn't it? It's a problem. There's food coming from China that is amazing. Is it environmentally friendly in terms of world resources? I don't know. Shipping costs are as expensive as sake, isn't it? It's one of those. Everyone can buy top ingredients, but is it right to do so? To grow your koi that much bigger? Not does it just cost more, but is why does it have to be manufactured out there? Because maybe they have to fulfill the roles that they have to do in Europe to do whatever. I don't. Can of worms.
So, sake growth small is no longer being imported by Pedigree. So I had a meeting with them last week. Once what they've got in the warehouse is gone, there is no more. And it's not because it's not being produced, it's the supply and demand thing.
Not enough demand for it.
There's not enough demand in the UK for them to put their efforts in. So Pedigree aren't shafting everyone. They're making a business decision based on demand. And the demand is not there.
They're buying it in, but they're not getting the turnover from it.
So,
you've got to remember that they've got the Pedigree got the buying rights or the import rights to sake. So, but what people don't know is what is in the contract for them to be able to import, right? So, like as a shop, in order for me to be an authorized dealer, I've got to buy X, Y, and Z pre-order 3 months in advance, 4 times a year, right, on a certain amount. Okay, they also will be on something very similar. So rather than putting all their money into sake growth small that isn't selling, they're transferring that fund to something else that I run out of stock on. It's they will have a minimum purchase order involved in that. So it's people become very selfish with regards to I can't get it. This is absolutely insane. Well, actually, from a business, If it's not working as a business, why should they? You know.
So if they're not going to buy it, does that mean that that product then is open for a wholesaler to buy it?
Nope. Nope. Not at all. They're still going to be buying all of the other. So when you look at sales, color growth, balance are the three main selling products. But when you start to go down into the small pellet, it don't sell anywhere near as quick. You know, and I know as a shop, we get asked probably for 1 or 2 bags a year of it.
But do you think that's because they actually do? Do you think that's actually because they actually do the sake in a 4.5, or is it 5.5, which is not a full? You know, it's the 6 mil.
2.5 and 5. What as in mil? Yeah. You know, to be quite honest,
the pellet's slightly smaller anyway, isn't it, than a standard normal 6 mil or 8 mils, whatever. That they are a slightly smaller pellet, so you get a fish up to a decent sized toe side, you can already eat that anyway, can't it?
That's the point. No one's got some fish that small. Who's got high quality fish at 4 inches? But that's the thing. It's only a couple of farms. We wouldn't. It's only the top end of the farms that have got them. It's a bit of a nonsense. It's the same thing, isn't it?
It's totally a nonsense. You know. The question I throw back is it a necessity? Because actually, when you see the results of other foods out there that are a minuscule of the price, them fish are still going to accelerate their growth if you're giving them the right food. It doesn't have to be sake.
But it's not just, the whole point is not just about growth, isn't it? It's about the whole package, which is what we were discussing before.
Yeah.
And there is holy grails out there. I mean, imagine the first guy that actually realised you could take all the waste product from a brewery, all the waste yeast that's going down the pan, and feed it to animals, and it's one of the best foods. That is someone that's just rolling around like, wow, I've taken this away and being paid, and I'm putting it in this food and being paid. I'm being paid on both hands, aren't I?
It's just like normal waste recycling, isn't it? You know, look on the building site.
Find the right thing, innit? So,
yeah.
Coppins are doing a lot of stuff with barley extract as well to get to increase the protein levels of their food in a responsible manner commercially. You know, you can't just keep. You know, fish meals are a dwindling product, aren't they? It used to be everywhere. You know,
to put a question within the question, then, Rick. I know, because I don't want to forget it. I've been to a few koi farms. Now you do different, but I've seen a lot of them do feed a 3 mil pellet. Is there any real truth behind a 3 mil pellet's easier for a fish to digest than a 6 mil pellet? Because they do not grind it up with the so-called teeth in first place before it even gets there. So they don't swallow a 6 mil pellet and that's straight in and a whole gut full of 6 mil pellets in a row, is it? It's ground up.
Have you seen my dog? My dog does that.
My dog does that as well.
So, Gaz, what you're saying is what I'm doing then. So I feed all of my fish 3 mil wheat germ over the winter. And my theory is it's easier for the fish to digest it and break it down. The same as if you were eating a steak and you had a big chunk and swallowed it, or cutting it up into small pieces.
We don't eat a big steak. You don't take off a massive great big chunk of steak and go and swallow it down, do you?
Rick does.
Yeah. Well, that's, but if they grind up their feed, the food with these so-called, I know they've got teeth, obviously, but if they use those teeth as a grinding motion, it ain't going down as a 6 mil pellet anyway, is it? Or is it? I'm asking a question. I don't know just how much. I'm sorry, I'm waving this around because I'm Scrags. Just to answer your question, I use it for cleaning the glass on the inside of my tropical tank. Now I've lost my plec because my plec don't keep the windows clean anymore. I'm sat there with a blade.
The reality is, the smaller the food, the higher the surface area, the quicker they digest it. If they are not crunching it up or whatever. One of my main issues with wheat jam is within a matter of minutes of being in the water, it goes really rubbery, and they could chew it for about a week. But but obviously small pellet. So you do get better growth from smaller foods, from our experience. So we'll use all sorts of
I
food.
wondered that because I've seen it myself, and they said that they fed it to all their stock, everything, and no matter what the size of the fish, 100 cm, they get free milk.
But so you have, unless you're going to run a trial with, again, identical ponds and identical fish, and one's on big pellet and one's on small pellet. The difference is quite often they'll go for big pellet over small pellet as just a greedy motion that you've chucked food in, and we use all sorts of sizes of food. And quite often,
that's why I asked you, because you do mix it, don't you? Have like a real small pellet, and you have crumb, or you have free mill, you have.
But you also have different fish.
Donkey pellet.
We don't want them all in a massive heap. It looks great, but they smash each other to bits. We want some down the bottom, some mid-water, some on the top, some spread out. The more you can spread the fish out, they can feed in their own way that they want to feed, as it were. Yeah, I've never done. You do find that if you put in smaller foods through the feeders, you do get better growth, but you also get more pollution, because any food, as soon as the smaller the food, the more it leaches into the water. But the surface area is the same when it hits the water as it is when it hits the fish's gut. So it's a payoff.
I love the fact though that you can have the same weight of food in 3 mil and 6 mil and chuck it in the pond, and the fish for a good half an hour hunting those individual small morsels, giving them something to do.
Yeah, but again, and I think people would perhaps miss that sometimes when you've got a shop environment where those fish are bored out their arse in a tank. By going in there, feeding different foods, giving them something to do, grubbing around on the bottom, chasing little bits. It's almost like entertainment for them, isn't it?
Yeah.
In a natural environment, they're doing stuff, aren't they? And in a shop tank, they're like, well, there's nothing to do, is there? There's no TV. There's no bloodworm in the bottom. There's no leaves to chew on. It's amazing that even the dock leaves that grow in our ponds or whatever, they always destroy them I think they're just something to do in it. Pulling the bits, spit them out.
Imagine this time of year must be pretty boring as well.
Yeah, but mental health for fish. Perhaps that's a whole new topic.
Throw an otter in.
There's a lot of people doing stuff over the ponds, don't they?
We'll get a heron to stand above you.
Like lettuce and stuff, don't they? For them to work out and for them to actually form a bird.
It's more natural, isn't it?
Yeah.
The vegetarians at the end of the day, and meat eaters. Every fish is a predator.
Omnivores.
Omnivore, that's the one.
They'll eat fucking anything.
And they do.
My dogs are omnivores, but they won't eat celery. That is one thing.
I think a lot of the time there's a lot of debate on, right, we need this, we need that. You know, well, actually, you don't need any of it as long as you look after your fish and you feed them. You know, I think I'd stretch that to say don't use Tetra because that's wank. To be perfectly honest,
There's a fair few that's wank.
Yeah,
there's a lot of that.
But you don't need to spend a huge amount of money on your koi. You know, if you're not personally, I think if you're not a show person that is spending thousands and thousands on your fish for a reason other than showing. You know, if you've got a garden pond and you want nice fish and you can afford sake, by all means put it in. But you don't need to go to that extremity. You can get results on different foods, and it costs you a smaller margin than what sake does. You know,
you don't even need to spend thousands to be a show person.
No, true.
If you want to show your fish, but you go for the smaller sizes or go for a variety, it ain't going to cost you shitloads. The only people that spend proper top money are the big top end go Sankey stuff. Because
totally agree. You know, but you know, saying that, I'm not saying don't sake. You do get the best results on 100% hands down, all right? But ultimately, you know, if you can't afford it, don't break the bank on it. Man. It's like there's other foods out there. You know, you're not doing your fish any misjustice by not giving them sake.
And you're also, if you're feeding sake at the wrong time, if you ain't got
the right temperature,
you're heating it, then see again, it's the same. It's a whole combination of things. If you haven't got enough UV, if you haven't not UV as in a UV bulb, natural right, you're not going to get the best out of your fish. If you ain't got the right temperatures, you ain't get the best out of your fish. If you ain't got the right genetics in your fish, you ain't going to get the best out of your fish. And you ain't got the right food. So you need all of those things to get the best out of your fish.
But then it also boils down to what type of food you're using, depending on the type of fish you got in your pond as well. Because different foods do different things to different varieties.
Like
So-
I got a customer up in Bristol, and he is heated, but
Bristol.
yeah,
Oh, I don't think you go that far.
all year he only feeds his fish Coppin's wheat germ all year. That's the only, and
A
he
lot
is
of people only feed wheat germ all year round, isn't they?
yeah,
A lot of
and he's
people
got
do.
the most phenomenal fish. They are unreal, and his very natural rate, which is like what we talked about last week, where sometimes are we pushing the fish on too quick, too early, and we're at risk of ruining the fish or getting them up to sizes that they're not going to survive a winter potentially.
It's all relative. I mean, Morris used to be one that used to go on about feeding wheat germ all the time. So, and he was up Bristol way when he was running his place. So that's where we don't use wheat germ at all on our fish, just period. Just
On the same, I actually say don't use it. Personally.
But
I've tried it, and they just leave it.
yeah, they don't. My issue is
It work back out.
it's one of the few foods that will swell and it's quite gelatinous. It's got quite a rubbery texture. So if you feed like a small 3 mil pellet to small fish and they will take it, before they can chew it up, it starts swelling in their mouth, so you can have problems with it. So
And you do get a lot of waste from it as well, because I see it in all the tanks.
Yeah.
You get the full string of shite on the bottom of the pond.
And
that's
to be
the
fair,
difference, isn't it? So highly digestible food, you don't get that, and something like. But just because something's highly digestible, yes, you might get better food conversion rates, but is it better for the fish? If we went to McDonald's and had 6 burgers but didn't shit, and got bigger and bigger, is that, I don't know, is that crafty? Is that good? I don't know.
Works for me.
Well, just,
It works for me.
you have a load of
Sometimes
sweet
push for
corn.
7 now.
You have to it's all a balance, and you can't, if you just get sweet corn, you just poo sweet corn and you don't necessarily gain a lot from it. But if you get the processes and the food, there's so much involved in it. It's
celery
not
is same.
I think-
When you mention that as well, if you eat celery, your body uses twice the amount of calories to digest it than what you get from consuming it.
it honestly, it's the only thing my dogs will literally, they will eat anything, but you drop a bit of celery on the floor and they're just like, I'm not eating that.
I've heard as well, if you eat pineapple,
Here we go. Here we go.
You can't
if
have
you
any
eat
weed
pineapple,
smells.
it's I ain't gonna finish that off because it's naughty.
Yeah. Well, I have a lot of pineapple and piccalilli, so I have yellow wee and other stuff.
And other stuff.
Well, some stuff and other stuff. But yeah, you eat piccalilli, you definitely get proper yellow wee. Like luminous yellow.
There's mushy peas from either Aldi or Lidl, whichever it might be, I forget. But that makes your piss like luminous fucking yellow, greeny yellow. It's bad.
So I've just been on the phone to the boss.
Make them green.
He's been on the phone to the boss. He's doing an
Just been on
auction.
the phone to the boss, right? He's just received a new koi invoice.
Has he got
Needless to say, he wasn't happy.
Yeah, but that might be a sanitary towel on his head.
It's a cooling strip,
All right.
apparently. But I thought it had wings, personally.
Look up the sweat, whichever one it.
So there is no miracle cure to the lack of free meal pellet, but everything else, sake-wise, will still be available. You've got to admit, though, aren't you? I know I've not fed it for a long time, but I've seen a difference in the way that they are when you feed them. And the amount of waste that's in the pond is pretty much none in comparison to any other food that I've used before. None. I mean,
100%.
I'll
That's the problem, isn't it? It's a good food.
make waste on it because they're on it. Tamasabas are growing on it. They're growing like hell, but they do produce some waste on it. But they shit like great big long lines of it. But the amount that they're getting maybe might be a little something to do with it as well. But there's very little waste in my pond with the koi at all.
But that's the thing, that it's a food specifically designed for koi, innit? To get the best out of your fish. It's a good food. So all other food manufacturers should be chasing that kind of holy grail. But if you've got a company in Europe and you can't use those ingredients because they're not sustainable in whatever packs people sign, whatever you do in terms of using certain foods for certain products, whatever, then you have to try and find alternatives. You know, soy has been used for donkey's years as an alternative protein source, but it's crap. You get high protein, but it's really hard for the fish to digest. But they're using it for a reason, isn't it? So broad beans, whatever, feather meal, barley meal, waste products from breweries. You use what you can to create the best you can that fits in what you're allowed to kind of use. That's what all. Yeah, it is difficult. And at the end of the day, you kind of. My issue with sake is you're just paying so many people a premium. That food does not cost that much to produce. So you're paying. So the food itself is good, but you're paying way over the top because you're paying too many people to get it to you.
Well, it's just the price is just increasing by another 7%.
I know, and that's so it's coming out.
I actually challenged
a sack, and you're paying 300 quid a sack by the time you get it here, isn't it?
I challenged against it. The comeback is that they haven't had a price hike for some time, and that they need to do it. Is sake in Japan has not increased in price.
Yeah, it's just another way of
yeah, but no, it's when you look at the bigger picture, mate. It's the war in Ukraine, for example, has really fucked shipping lanes but it has.
I know, but I mean,
all them costs built in, don't they? They all increase as a result of longer fare, like longer routes to get here.
And yet, Timo keep hassling me to buy shit for nothing.
Exactly, mate. That's what I'm just going to say. The same thing, yeah. But we can't get stuff like that through to us because the shipping lanes are. But I can order something from Timo and get it for next to no, and it come over here and it be here in a fortnight.
If you can't feed your fish,
it's all bullshit. It's just another marketing way to get more and more money out of us. And what we should do, personally, in my opinion, everybody should stop purchasing the damn stuff and drive the prices down and vote with us wallets. And then when they don't get no sales from us at all, they'll either start doing one or two things, drop the price, or they won't bring it in at all. And then we'll go to somebody else.
The price is not selling so much. Let's just get a boat and all go over there and bring a container back.
Massive container load full back. I mean, it's a manipulation of the market. It is. That
they control. Pedigree control the monopoly because they're the single only company that can transport it into the country. So they control the monopoly on it. They do what they feel is best.
It's a business thing, Crafting. They've got to do what they've got to do.
I agree.
They've got to do it. Everything's costing everybody more. So they've got to do something, or otherwise, they'll have had the same thing. They'll have had a wage rise, all the rest of it, taxes and everything else. So they've got to do what they've got to do to keep making what they was making. I understand all that, but at the end of the day, it's the consumer that foots the bill for it. And when you're already feeling the pinch, for someone to start pinching again from another avenue, it does grind your gears a little bit. But
yeah, well, sales I think will dictate whether or not that 7% increase was a good or a bad move.
Yeah, I think but that would in this country we're all, and everybody's guilty of it. We should stick to what we really believe in, and we should do it like they do in other countries. If we want to turn around and say enough's enough, and get out there and actually put a stop to it by protesting it or whatever, or not purchasing it, whatever. We don't do anything like that. We just go, oh yeah, go on, fuck it.
Manufacture our own food.
Crafty, have you actually looked at buying it in Japan anyway?
Can't do it.
I just wonder where that ink or where the price actually is coming from. Is it already high in Japan? And
No.
If you say Pedigree got the only one that can import, they managed to get it somehow. So why can't some other company and undercut them again?
It's all contracted, mate, isn't it? They've got the buying rights.
So it is a monopoly then, isn't it? 100%.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The fact is, if only one company can bring it into the UK, then that one company controls what the price of it is.
But over in the UK, that's illegal.
Yeah, but if the deal's done in Japan, then that law don't bring over it, does it? Yeah. It's all done under Japanese law.
And the fact the yen, you got twice as so the food in Japan's got cheaper. The pound against the yen's like 200 yen to the pound, isn't it?
Yeah, 190 yen to the pound.
That's like so. The pound buys twice as much as it did 15 years ago. So the food's actually cheaper in terms of.
The way the Japanese run their economy is that they don't tax businesses.
And the way the Chinese run their economy is they take money from us to send stuff to us because they're a third world country and they have to pay shipping. We pay the shipping.
Yep.
Fucking what's that all about?
Yep.
I think we're being mugged off. Even Rwanda's got on the boat. They're suing us. We've not sent enough workforce over there for the $1 billion we sent them.
Paul put in there basically if you have quality koi that you paid for or good money for, why would you feed anything else? Well, some people might be at a stretch to buy their dream koi, but not necessarily still be able to afford to continue to pay ever increasing.
I think that's a very selfish way of looking at things. You know, each to their own. It's like, you know, let's face it, right? Before Ricky Stoddart come on scene, right, and really push like with regards to become a like socially and push sake. How many people really did feed sake? You know, how many people even knew it existed? How many people walked past it on the shelf because of the price of it, without understanding what its full potential was? Right, that's. You know, the exposure that it's come from that platform. Yeah, you know, it's, you know, I agree. If you can afford it, use it because you've got the best results. Yeah, but it's not a necessity. You know, no. It's not.
Well, there, look, for example, Koi Water Plants and Rants says I've just had a full year on ProBites. Autumn and winter, then growth, and what?
It's their colour.
And I've had really good results with very little waste, but it's only available from one dealer. Evening, Doctor.
Gary's. Well, I know Gary sells it. I've tried it. I didn't get on with it, but that's
right. Then you've tried everything, Rick. You've been doing it for 30 years. What should we buy instead?
I can't tell you. Because I cannot find the food.
That's not the answer I was looking for.
What are you using, Rick?
I'm using all sorts. In a minute,
You've used it, Rick. You know the difference that stuff makes. You've seen the difference, but the price value difference for you as a business model just isn't suitable. But there's no matching it, is there?
What I have seen is the sake colour, when fed at the right temperature, made a massive difference. But the sake balance, sake growth, all the rest of them wouldn't touch with a barge pole. No different. I can match those foods. No bother.
Yep, I'd agree with that 100%.
You're literally talking about one of their products is
brilliant,
best. And I'll give me a year. I will match it.
EA Grow Food.
Watch this space, guys.
EA Grow Food is as good as sake Grow Food.
No, not the Grow Food. That's the issue. EA, their Pro Plus, whatever they call it, is the only one that is decent.
Yeah.
So this is the issue. So you've got brand names and you've got stuff. and they all do different foods. So Medicarp,
Medicoi.
no Medicarp,
Yes, yeah, got you.
JPM one, and then Coppens did it under license or whatever. But for whatever reason, that they all fell out, whatever. But it's changed. It's not the same. It's whatever. It's not as good as it was. For
You
whatever
still get
reason,
good results.
it's still good. It's still bloody good, and it's half the price of sake. But
I vote Rick for Saki overthrower.
Honestly, I will get a food. But the problem is, when I get a food that matches it, it will be probably 2 or 3 different diets mixed together with a load of other stuff that people then don't want to do because you've got to mix stuff and you've got to do stuff. It's a pain.
To me, Rick, that bit's the fun bit because that's the bit that gets you interacting with your fish in your pond. Now, if you're a guy that wants to stick it all in a feeder and have it all automated, so every now and again you go out with a bottle of beer and go check out my guy, then it's not really going to be the best food for you.
Look at Gaz having a dig at Lee there.
You know what I mean? Some people use them as a showpiece. Some people like to get clean sponge filters. Some people like everything to be done and perfect and just be, at this time it does this cycle, that's this, and that. And others just love to get their hands dirty and spend their whole weekend servicing and filtering the ponds and everything else. There's loads of aspects and levels of filtering or of pond keeping. But your method that you do there, where you get hands-on and you're mixing some up and you're preparing a bit of food for them one day and then you're banging it in and feeding it the next, whatever, is something that would appeal to a lot of people.
It would, and that's how, not being funny, Sakai Fish Farm, this is the problem, they do the same shit. They make their own food a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Because they like to feed fish in a certain way with certain stuff. So they make it themselves.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like the paste and such that they use, like them ball, that
So
paste.
at the end of the day, you've got...
recipe, Rick.
Yeah, but that's the basic recipe in it, but you can go way beyond it. And that's when it gets good, isn't it? If you go beyond it and you can use different ingredients and actually then you take your fish to the show and you've got the best fish with something you've created. Not only have you chosen the fish and you created the food and you created the pond and the environment. That in my head is like the best bit, isn't it? You've gone down a path that's not everyone else's path and you've created this variety is the best at the show, the best in the country, the best in the world, whatever. It's got to be good, isn't it?
I don't know if Crafty's talking to us or realises he's still muted.
No, he hasn't got a job anymore. He's just been sacked.
Right, while he's doing that, we'll go on to the quick one that Kathy Hicks has asked. Introducing new fish. I know it's stuff that we've topped on, but if we're helping one person, we're helping. So introducing new fish, quarantine / how long, etc. Or PP dip question, and then adding straight to the pond straight away.
Or if you can quarantine. If you haven't got
How
quarantine, well, I did. But this is the issue, isn't it? Realistically, you want to be doing 4 to 6 weeks, and if you can heat ramp, and if you can introduce fish in your pond to them, there's so many layers to it. Every layer, everything you do protects yourself a bit. But most people haven't got a situation where they can quarantine a fish for 6 to 8 weeks, then introduce the fish in their pond to it and do all the rest. So every little bit you do. So from what you perhaps saying is you buy a new fish, you stick it in a PP dip, chuck it in the pond, you've maybe eliminated a potential parasite problem or whatever. If you quarantine for 6 weeks, fish on their own, if that fish was carrying something that was going to kill it and all your fish or whatever, hopefully you'll see that before. But by then introducing your fish to that fish, it's just little bits and every little margin you can do. We do it.
Reduce
when you move them again, you can still have problems that break out from stress, from whatever. But generally, the worst issues, like ulcers have got to be up there with absolute the worst. KHV, SVC, they're nasty viral problems. But ulcers have got to be up there with some of the most heartbreaking, horrendous problems because your fish kind of live and then they die, but one lives and they die. And it's just those real nasty bacterial problems.
It's sickening for a keeper as well, isn't it? Because you see what could potentially...
If you saw your child going through that, you probably put it down yourself, wouldn't you? You'd be like, oh my God, you don't want to see that. So that the whole quarantine is you separate the fish, but by separating it on its own doesn't eliminate the chances of infecting your fish. Because if that fish has got an immunity to something that's carrying it, when you might have it 6 weeks, it's banging, it's fine. Chuck it in your pond. 2 days later, every fish in your pond is now having a massive reaction. So that's where you've got the whole sort of mixing of stocks, and the easiest way of doing it is in the quarantine. So you bring a fish back and go through it. And we all go, as dealers, we go through it. It's scary. You buy fish, they all look great on a farm. You go wherever, you buy these, you put them through a stressful shipping, you put them into a new environment. You know, you always hope everything's going to be fine, but it's not always fine, is it? So you've got to deal with it, and you've got to make sure you minimize the risk of causing problems to your main stock. If you haven't got any stock, it doesn't matter. If you've got a brand new pond, it's not an issue, is it? But if you've got 50 fish in your pond that you've had for 25 years and they're your pride and joy, then you've got to be proper careful.
I think that's probably got to be the most riskiest one, hasn't it? If you've got like fish that you've had in your pond 15, 20 years and you lose a fish and you think, you know what, I'm going to go get a fish like that to replace it, you're probably more likely to expose them to something because you've had them as long as you have without having any other exposure of any other fish ever being introduced in there since that initial start.
Well, you're changing the whole chemistry of the water.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
But, and again, it depends where the fish comes from, the temperature it's introduced at. There isn't a right or wrong. There is just belt and braces and more weight. You know, the more fire breaks you put in before that fish goes in your pond, the more chance you're going to see the problem before it goes in that pond.
The time of the year has got to play a big part in it as well.
It all does, doesn't it? But if you've got heat ramping facilities, it's not such a thing. So if you buy them from someone that quarantines and heat ramps and puts them through all those processes, it's safer than someone that's just buying them and selling them. Yeah, it's a minefield, unfortunately.
So if we were going to say quarantine, then minimum literage.
There is no minimum. The problem is if you're buying fish that big, you could get away with a meter cube tank, can't you? But if you're buying fish this big, you need a proper facility. So there's no. Your quarantine can't be a specific size unless you know what you're getting.
Right. Let's say if you were buying a Nisai 35, 45 cm, and you wanted to quarantine that one fish with your other fish that were Nisai, Yonsai, etc.
So you need like a 500-gallon facility that is fully filtered, and that fish can live in semi-permanently, don't you? So if you need to sort it, treat it.
One of your fish, which is a good, healthy fish, not as I've said in past, just having any old ropey fish. You actually want it to be a good, healthy fish, don't you? Something that's.
It could be the other way around, guys. You just said you want a good, healthy fish to come into it. The actual fish in the pond could be the bad fish.
Don't matter. If it's in the pond, whatever's in the pond, that fish is exposed.
I'm thinking in that ulcer case where he's got healthy fish in his pond, he's got healthy fish in a quarantine, put the two together, and ulcers have exploded amongst every single fish in there. And the ulcers have actually come from his healthy fish that were in the pond previously.
But they've already got immunity to it, haven't they? So you've got they're healthy, they're carriers of a problem.
Just because they're in your pond, it doesn't mean that your fish are healthy. It could be that your fish have got the immunity to it.
You've got gonorrhea and syphilis. Just don't sleep.
Yeah.
I know it's
a problem, isn't it?
The other bit on that then, so the PP not really doing a great deal. You might be eliminating a few parasites if they come in with any nasties.
What though?
My personal opinion is there's no requirement to PP dip a fish and then put it into a pond. Because, the stress event in itself of just bringing a fish to a pond is enough. And then you're going to suffocate it to fuck in a pond full of chemical and then add it into a new environment.
Yeah, but you're sterilising it when you drop it in.
To me, there's just no point in that practice, and wherever that come from it's in my opinion not a good practice. I don't.
No, imagine,
right?
okay, right, you're buying a fish, right? That's got flukes or costia or whatever. That's in a tank. So, like, you're buying it, you drop it in a PP dip, you knock those flukes and costia, whatever you're knocking off. So you then drop it in a pond that's got nothing. That fish is not spreading the problem to those other fish. That's where it comes from. It has
reality.
I don't recommend. It's one of those things, isn't it? If you buy from a good dealer, you should be buying a fish that's in a good state. But it has its place where you can save yourself a world of grief having to treat a whole pond for costia when you could have knocked it off PP dip for that fish.
The one case would be: is it better to stress one fish to remove the parasites, or to stress all your fish when they all get it?
Okay, or do you stress the fish that much that when you drop it into its new environment, it's fucking super stressed and therefore prone to attack anyway?
I think we should ask South America when the Spanish came if he had been immunised from smallpox, would they have wanted that? Probably.
Right, but truth is, right?
A good analogy.
If I import 5,000, 6,000 fish in February, all right, do I PP dip all of those fish before they go into my tank?
No, but you're bringing those in whatever batch they are and putting them in together in one mass to quarantine them through and treat them through. But you aren't going to take out 4 of those fish and wang them in with your good stock, are you?
No, but once they've gone through quarantine, do you think my main pond is from one dealer? It's not. Once they've gone through quarantine, they are introduced into that pond. They don't get PP dipped.
Yeah, I got.
You know, but when we get down to 15,
but if you establish
15,
that, if you establish through the quarantine period that you brought them in, that those fish were right, they got sleeping Coy's disease, whatever it has. If they got sleep-ins, so you treat them through that and you ramp them up and down, up and down, up and down. You get them through that, and then you think, right, we do some scrapes. Shit, they got costia. You treat that whole pond for costia, and then you know that them fish are clear of costia, and you put them into your sales ponds. Okay. But if you bring one fish from somewhere, how do you know it's not? If you scrape that fish and you see it's got costia on it.
So you've seen when I went to the shows, all right, how many different ponds went into that show vat, when I was selling, all right. I didn't PP dip any of them fish before they went into that pond. No.
You prepared them all before you took them to the show, didn't you? You scraped
them
all,
right? But this is my point, all right? So I've done all of that as a dealer. So when you're taking fish from my pond, all right, you PP dip it and then put it into your pond, all right? I'm not going to sell anything knowing that there's an issue.
No, but right? So do you, every day before you sell, do you scrape fish to check?
We scrape our fish all of the time, mate.
Yeah, every day before sale.
We don't, Gaz, right? But remember,
I'm not saying you should.
No. We follow a very strict routine with our scraping, fish health, etc. All right. Just through monitoring behaviour, like I said at the start of the show, we've got an outbreak of fluke in the main pond at the moment, right? You know, that all comes from observations, scrapes, doing the right thing. All right. However, when it comes to selling and introducing koi, all right, if you're going from a reputable dealer that is doing all of this groundwork before that goes out, all right, then, you know, I'm not saying all of our koi are completely free, because there's chances that they're not. You know,
of course,
you can't be 100%. You can't be 100% guarantee on it.
Because if that was the case, nobody would get parasites in the ponds because they're introduced.
However, the parasites live in a pond shit bust.
Right? Yeah.
It's whether or not there is an outbreak that is causing issues. Okay, so when you put your fish through a PP dip, once it's come from the dealers, it's been netted, it's been bagged, it's been transported, it's been put into a pond, right, in a bag to acclimate. All of these changes, all of this journey is a stress event for a fish. So then you plonk it in some PP. Not only is it highly strung and stressed as a result of going through that journey, you are then knocking it back in a poor water condition, because that's what you're doing. You're putting it in a poor water condition for a benefit, agreed, right? But then that stress event is increased even more. So when you drop it into that pond, the chances are the parasite that is completely under control in your pond, all right, because parasites live everywhere, all right. It's only when they sense an issue do they break, all right. So actually, are you elevating a chance of putting an issue in your pond by doing a PP dip? That's the question, and that is my personal opinion. It's not.
Yeah, it's an interesting
practice.
topic, though, mate. It's an interesting topic because all these things that you say there that are stress events are all done to the fish from Japan before they send them to the UK.
Yeah, totally. But then we manage those issues. That's why they go through a quarantine process.
My point being is, how much of a stress event is it if that's all the fish has ever known?
Less than the stress. Well, that's the whole point, isn't it?
Those fish, we all say, like, we shouldn't net as fish, we shouldn't do this, we shouldn't do that, we shouldn't do this, we shouldn't. Your average knee size being netted 50, 60 times.
Different
and it's
fish
been
will
through
have different.
treatments, been through PP dips, God knows how many times, but it's a stress event, apparently. But yet, familiarization with anything reduces stress. Never do it, and you see a fish or an animal act totally different being done once.
Some fish constantly react bad to being netted.
Oh, of course we do, yeah.
You know, we've got a fish in the shop that constantly pisses blood out its gills. As soon as the net goes in,
as soon as you go near it,
you know,
it tends to be.
Others that jump in the net. You know, but you're right. But actually, when you look at stress events, that is a massive factor to issues.
If a fish gets super stressed, then it's more likely to succumb to something nasty.
And that's what I'm. That's what I'm.
And is that you're saying that is that? But the same could be said then on the flip reverse of it is if you don't treat that one fish and you know it's got something, you get it home, you think, right, it's in my bowl, had a quick look at it, do a scrape, shit, it's got costia and trick and flukes. I'm going to PP dip it. Rather than introducing costia, trick and flukes to your main pond, which we shouldn't be doing because it should be going quarantine first of all anyway, which would be the reason why that. Which is it's
the full circle.
Exactly, it does a full circle, and that's the beauty of what every time 100% makes it more the case that you should be quarantine.
But how many
the worst thing is when people throw a fish into their pond, right? They then get issues. They then blame that fish as the issue in that pond, right? When actually that's really not the case for a majority of the issues that you see. It's just a natural phenomenon that will happen due to a stress event in the pond.
Yeah. How many ponds do you reckon are out there that are parasite free?
None. Absolutely zero.
Exactly. You know, so
what it costs you can hide under a scale that you wouldn't even see or find it if you scraped them anyway, can't they?
To be fair, mate, how many times have people scraped a fish thinking they've got a problem to not see the issue?
Yeah.
You know, but the issue's there. You just can't see where the issue is.
We've all drawn a blank on a scrape, haven't we? Even though you're seeing fish flash constantly.
I saw a post this week where somebody had the full screen and the fluke was tiny in comparison to the full screen.
Yeah, just the start.
And he said on there, I'm really pleased. I've got flukes. Can you confirm which one this is, whether it be gill or body? I'm pleased I haven't got any other parasites. And if you're seeing that fluke as a tiny object,
your microscope,
you got no freaking chance of seeing costia. None whatsoever.
In fact, that's so true.
Fluke's goddamn big, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. You know, a fluke just jumps out on you. And even when I see people, they've done 8 quotes on one fish and they've found a fluke, they're thinking they got a parasite issue and they got to treat the pond. No need whatsoever in my eyes.
Well, that's exactly why the last time I knew I was going to get some fish from Rick. I knew I was getting some fish from Crafter, and I knew there was something in my pond. Now they weren't all that bad with it. There were a flash every now and again, and I'd scraped and found flukes. And I thought, is there any real point in treating these now, when in another 2 to 3 weeks I'm going to be adding 3 more fish. There's no point, because then I might introduce something again and I might have to treat again. Or do I just wait, let it progress a little bit, see what the new fish are like when they go in? And I didn't PP any of them. I banged them in, and after a couple more weeks, there was the odd bit more flashing, got a bit more obvious, more noticeable. Scrape again, flukes. Treat accordingly. Done. Not had any issue since. That to me was the better way. But if I could have done, and if I had, what I would have done is quarantine. But it's difficult when you're a small fish keeper and you can't afford. I mean, you've got to run 2 full separate systems constantly all the time to be able to keep a fish in there. That's doubling your expense of keeping fish. It's a gamble that you take, and it is a big gamble. It's a massive gamble. It could totally annihilate everything you've got, but sometimes well, I suppose some might say if you can't afford to do it, you shouldn't be doing it in the first place. But then,
no, at the end of the day, you've got, if you can't afford to run 1 point, you've got to run 2, and it becomes a nonsense, doesn't it?
Yeah, it becomes crazy, doesn't it?
But going back to the whole stress of it, we had to change the way we used to run the whole farm, the whole way we did the farm, and probably the same thing happened in Japan 20 odd years ago. So we used to literally put the fry out into mud ponds, and then in the autumn, you'd harvest your fish and then put them into sales vats. And all my fucking days,
complete different
never seen such just, fish that you've never. You can put them out and harvest them, and you've not lost a single fish. You put them into a sales vat, into lovely, clear, high quality, good water, and those fish were so stressed that literally it was a disaster. And it was like, well, how do we get from farming fish to selling fish? And obviously the farms in Japan have had to go through the same thing. So they come into winter facilities where they get used to people, and into smaller environments with clear water, high stock densities, and they suddenly get used to people and they become tame, get used to that environment. And suddenly you can then sell them to people where they're going into that environment and they're not absolutely freaking the shit out. And, originally as a farm, we used to, have no issue, send fish off to wholesalers, and the wholesalers would stack them in tanks, and the fish would then just have a nightmare. And you're like, well, I don't get what's going on. And then it is that stress, like you're saying, the BKK say, well, you can't take fish to shows too often, to whatever. But the reality is, the more a fish is in an environment, the same as a puppy. In the olden days, you didn't go near a puppy for 6 weeks, or we don't touch it. Now it's, you take them away from the mum, you get a hoover and you run over them.
Strap it to the vacuum cleaner, run it around the house.
Yeah, fucking rub its face through the grass, make sure it's
not stress anymore.
That's
what it's grown up with. That is a natural environment. That environment is home.
Desensitization.
Desensitize it, you become, and it's the same with the fish. The more time our fish spent in fish houses and in all these different environments, suddenly they become fish that you used to when you put them, you catch them and you put them in a bowl and they're still swimming around and look for food or whatever. They're not stressed anymore by being netted and caught. It's like, wow, it's a different world, isn't it? That's so fish that, you got, okay, take Lee Hatfield's pond, right? We keep using this pond, but it's a great one for people to know. So he's going out to Japan buying those fish that have been through all that. They come back to his pond, he nets them, he bowls them, he does whatever. They have got no issue with it, have they? It's not like they're freaking out by it. That stress event to someone's fish is not a stress event anymore to his fish. It's just, yeah.
But if you went to that guy's pond that's had it for 25 years, never had one of his fish out, but he knows all his fish by identification. You put a net under that fish, man, the thing goes nuts.
Just put a new fish in there.
As well.
Just put a new fish into that pond.
In it, so these events
yeah, exactly, yeah.
Stress to one person is just normal to another, isn't it? If your environment is that, if you are grown up in that environment, it's not stressful, is it?
No, it's a coping mechanism, isn't it?
It's life. That is just because it's just your life. It's not stressful. Matt gets stressful. He's got no water, electric, or anything.
Looking brighter in the room, though, Matt. So I'm guessing you've got a few more bulbs.
6 of them up there now.
Yay!
So talk about the water. The alarm just went off. 2 sheds on 2 different RCDs just tripped all the power. Why?
We've got no water. There's no water left.
Dodgy electrics, mate.
God,
I would say if you're having consistent problems with some stuff like that, Matt, call out an electrician, mate. Get your system checked
it has
before
been
you end
done.
up with an electrical fire.
So
It's
all
where
of it's
you
been-
are in the world, mate.
I know. Literally down here, it's
Oh,
different.
I got a question for you, Matt. You know, you were saying that you had 3 EA pumps, and the only reason why I ask is because Ross asked us. He's got an EA pump that was having an issue with it, and it keeps tripping out. It'll run for 20 minutes. Sometimes it'll run for 2.5 hours, and then all of a sudden, bang, knocking all his power off, pump going off. You said over a week that you had 3 that you were having an issue with. Did
No.
you find what that
I've
problem
got
was? That might help.
There's 16 pumps down there, and every single pump has been replaced 3 times.
I don't know what to say about that.
And guarantee it, you go down there, and like I say, I've changed over now because I just can't. It doesn't make sense.
Did he ring you, Crafty? Did he have a word with you about it? Because I don't know if he was trying to change the controller or something, wasn't he?
A lot, controllers are interchange. Controllers are all interchangeable on the EA things. It's, you know, what they're trying to do at the moment is keep the same controller with the same pump. So they're obviously doing a bit of fault finding with that at the moment. But I mean, I haven't seen many, and we sell fucking shitloads, to be honest. But not many. I think just two this year. So you must have had a bad batch or something like that. But just 2 this year have had issues with a surge protection, which is what cuts them out basically. But again, with the best thing that Ross can do is speak to his dealer where he bought from, and get them to go back to EA to discuss what the resolution is. You know, personally, there's a good chance that it's going to be a pump replacement.
I just have
when you catch him tomorrow when you watch it back when you're on your way to work.
Pontec pumps, mate. Just buy the simplest thing. Can't go wrong with the simplest thing. You need to run 4,000 litres an hour. You buy a 4,000 Pontec pump, 70 quid. They are.
But what people don't know is that Pontec is Oase's budget brand, although it's not budget equipment, because when a certain pump becomes end of line in Oase, it then goes to Pontec.
But doesn't that say something then, Crafty? Because for years and years and years, Oase's been the best brand out there, potentially the highest priced one.
Yeah, mate, they're definitely a solid, one of the best
great pumps,
water movement filtration companies in the world, without a doubt. The koi ponds, right? But all they do is a new technology will come out, like the Oct-Core sort of pump that they've got going on at the minute. So as soon as that replaces what's currently on the shelf, that pump that it replaces then becomes a Pontec pump. But it's not pushed or manufactured.
Not to a higher branded, better product in the cheaper brand.
Because they've bettered their product, so
so they move that
down. Doesn't get any marketing. Pontec has got 0 budget for marketing. Period. Right? They don't push it. That's why it's cheap.
But fucking, we've got them everywhere, mate. They're the best pump on the market, bar none, for the cost.
You know, and it's one of these keeping up with the Joneses things, isn't it? You know, a lot of people want the best all of the time, like your Apple products. You must have the new Apple phone. People are like that when it comes to their ponds as well.
Well,
and each of their own. But ultimately, you know, people will walk past Pontec because it's got an orange box. It looks shit on the shelf. All right, because while they do it purposely, they just use it as a side hustle.
But that's what's progressed us, though, isn't it? That's what progressed us in the hobby, as like we've said, from basic old shitty filter systems right through to what we've got now by people being that way and buying the latest things that come out. Right, one more question then that we've got. Is it right to be getting fish now from an unheated pond? If so, why do so many dealers shut up till spring?
It's easy. It's an easy one. Again, so many dealers will shut their ponds over this period merely because footfall through their shop is reduced massively, because pond seasons, I think we've discussed this before, pond seasons really start around Easter. Okay. In that time, it don't mean to say they're not busy. They're, you know, a good dealer should be bringing in Nisai, February, bringing in Tozai, right, and then managing that. If they don't want to go to market or they've got a small customer base, then there's no need. For a shop like me, there's no reason why people shouldn't be buying. However, if it's an outdoor pond going to an outdoor pond, you can take the fish today, right? But if you're buying from the indoor pond and you've got an unheated outdoor pond, because of the temperature values are so hugely different, it's a big no-no to go from a warm pond to a cold pond with a huge drastic, because your fish will just lie and die, you know. So a good dealer will overwinter for you, you know, but you've got to keep your end of the bargain and move that fish when it's time to move that fish, you know, because that's the biggest heartache, you know. At the minute, I think we've got 140 fish that are currently being overwintered.
That's right? 139 of mine.
Yeah, well, 138, mate. You've had no, you haven't had that really, but yeah, it's one of them. There's nothing wrong with buying fish now to go into the same type of temperature environment. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it, you know. But British are just miserable bastards, mate, and they don't go in the garden at this time of the year.
Because everybody's hibernating out there now. That's it. So nobody goes out. Nobody does out. Nobody goes to buy any, you know, bits and bats. You don't do out much. You just go like that. End of season, boom, done. All videos like, you know, preparing ponds for winter, everything else, and that's pretty much the last.
But the thing is, there's fucking oodles of really, really good koi that are left.
Yeah,
you know, so some that are only just starting to blossom. Actually,
you get a grow on. The quarantine becomes a grow on.
Yep.
Use that to buy the cheap bargains, or not cheap. We get loads of people saying, "Oh, you got any cheap deals?" No. Why would we have a cheap deal now? Because a lot of Japanese dealerships are slashing their prices, getting rid of all their stock because they don't want to run the systems for the winter.
So, Crafty, when you talk about buying fish this time of the year, so totally different scenario. I wouldn't say
you're brilliant.
It's not a dealer. This is a garden centre. So this was last year in the spring. He'd gone to a garden centre, bought some fish. He quarantined those fish for 6 weeks in ambient temperatures. So during the winter, so that's going to be 8 degrees. He put those fish into his pond. Spring came and a huge outbreak of ulcers.
Yep.
And it was put down to the temperatures of the water. There was no point quarantining because the bacteria, the pathogens, weren't going to be high enough.
So basically what you're saying, it's a very, very simple explanation based on what you've just said. So there's an issue with them fish, period. Whether it's the garden centre fish or the pond fish, right? The temperature's got so low that the bacteria is inactive. So as soon as them water started warming up, that's when, hey presto, we've got the problem. But at which point, what is the problem? Is it the fish that you're quarantining putting it in, or did that system already have that problem?
Well, knowing that one individual customer, I would say it was 100% where he got the fish from, because he'd had those fish in there for, I think it was 2, or he'd had them for multiple years, but for 2 years, no issues at all with those fish in there.
Yeah.
And when he added the fish in the garden centre, it was his fish in his ponds that went down with ulcers, not the fish that he bought from the garden centre.
Been introduced, isn't it?
Yeah, so I do think, all due respect, we are definitely right in what we say that it is a good time of year to buy the fish.
100% it is.
But
from a reputable dealer. It's always a reputable dealer.
Yeah, the buyers need to be aware of where they're buying them from, because
garden centres have got their place in the fish keeping world without a shadow of doubt, right? There's a lot of people spring into the hobby through garden centres, right? They do, it's part of the parcel. The problem that you get with some of the garden centre people that sell koi, they don't know their ass from their elbow when it comes to keeping koi. Right?
A little one that happened 2 years ago.
That's on it. Fucking hell, what you been on? Diarrhea.
Is that his Dutch courage?
I went into a garden centre.
Oh, you've got it in for the fucking garden centres, haven't you?
It was a sort of garden centre. It was
Other
50,
sources are available for koi.
50. They had this fish had a gut opening ulcer on it. And they said to the guy, and I literally I had one of my tops on, but I had my coat over the top. So
I've heard this one before.
And I said to him, I said, so what's wrong with that fish? And he said, don't know. He was all right last night. He was all right last night. I've treated the fish. It'll be okay. But if you're interested in it, you can have it for 50% off.
Totally right. I see it myself, Matt.
Totally
There's-
right.
There's a shop very local to me
Totally
that's in
right.
a garden centre. Right. When I visit the garden centre, I always like to go for a look round.
Do you have a bio?
Mate, I have to lap them all up, mate. Yeah. Yeah, mate. I took video of the state of the koi, and then I actually wrote a complaint to their head of to the company. I ain't going to say the name.
No, I wrote it.
I actually wrote a complaint
replied.
and provided videos, and all it come back was, I'm sorry that you've come across this. I've raised the issue to the manager of the store. All right, you know, it's that, and I know the guy personally that he overlooks free shops, and I know the guy personally. He obviously don't know.
This is the thing that Rick's always said in the past, though, isn't it? Whenever you get something like this, it's always introduced.
Yeah.
Yeah, 9 times out of 10 it is. Yeah, it is. 9 times out of 10, something serious like that is definitely something that's been put in there.
It doesn't manifest in a dirty filter or manifest. No. You can stress the fish, you can do whatever. As we were saying, stress events are precursors.
Part of the parcel.
The precursors to if a fish has got white spot at a low level and you stress it, it will come out. It's more likely to come out with a white spot. If you've got a batch of fish that have gone through ulcers and dealt with it, and you put them with another bunch of fish, either the ones that have got no immunity to it will come down first, but they will often bring the other ones down as well, because suddenly you're just creating a shitstorm.
Yeah, and sometimes it's down to the people that look after their fish, not monitoring their fish well enough, or acting quick enough as well. You know, sometimes the blame isn't always the fish, but actually the ability to deal with the issue quick enough, or identifying it quick enough, and being proactive in that.
Why is mirror image always left to right but not up and down?
That's a good question. That's fucking fried my brain like that.
I know, I don't get it.
If we all went like that.
At what point does light decide left and right is different but up and down is the same?
Mate, let's not get onto shit like that. Fucking talking koi fries. I haven't been monitoring the comments, to be honest.
Rob said there, so surely the whole thing with koi is to make it as stress-free as possible, less stress, less problems, or stress the shit out of them until they get used to it.
Yeah, but I think you've got to do that. But that's, you've got to do
in
it
a controlled environment.
I didn't mean like,
Boom, boom, boom.
But the reality is actually, like I say, if you, it starts from the breeding, doesn't it? So, and this is where it gets a bit mental, isn't it? So the fish from Israel used to have a lot more problems than the fish from Japan. People say, the quality, forget the quality, the way they were reared, the way that it was done, there was no interaction between fish and person until much later in life, and then they were graded and sold. So it's done like a food crop, as it were. You put them out, you bring them in, go, this is good, this is bad, this is a pound, this is two, whatever. That fish has got absolute no comprehension of the process. But yeah, in Japan, if you imagine you go through and you grade your fish, you net them at 6 weeks old, 10 weeks old.
Took them up a
12
tube
weeks old.
at
And you
4
go
weeks
through
old.
the process, and that before long, that fish is like, well, I've been through this. Same as
I've
carp
been
fish.
through a tube. I've been up a vacuum pipe.
Yeah, but you look over in Israel, mate. They literally net them, dump them in the back of a truck, fucking drive them somewhere, put a shoot out, hit it all, and they just
That's exactly
flesh out.
that's my point. I mean,
That's
at
fish
what point
farming.
do you-
So this is the difference between
I mean,
fish farming, isn't it?
Yeah.
some of them go in those pipes, don't they? They shoot them upstream.
I fucking hate seeing it, mate. I hate
Whoosh.
seeing it when it fails and all them fish are fucking flapping around on the bank and like fucking kicking them into the drink like it. Like to me, I'm like fucking.
You see them with 600 fish in a basket, and they go over to it. They all look dead, apart from 4 on top of them. They pour them in, and they all just go.
Yeah. So it sickens me when I see that, mate. You know, for the love of fish, I'm
To be
like,
fair, you can't do
that's
that.
just a
If
commodity
you,
to that.
if you put koi in one of those drain baskets, like so those baskets you see with loads of fish, right? You can't do that with koi. Just think of the when you've got a bucket of water, right? You can have fish filled to the brim with water, and the fish at the bottom is under no more pressure than any of the other fish.
Yeah, that's
realistically.
In that water, yeah.
You put them in those drain baskets.
Yeah, that's what I mean. The fish
Yeah,
at the
it's
bottom,
slowly crushing. Yeah.
They're
they're
being
being crushed by everything on top, aren't they?
Which doesn't matter if you're doing it with goldfish or fish for eating or whatever. I'm not saying, but in reality, you can't do that with a high end kind of product because those fish have now got rip fins, scales missing, half dead, whatever. But the reality of the more you grade fish, the more you handle the fish, the more actually they're ready for an indoor pond environment, whatever you want to call it. Stress that they're not stressed, are they, by it?
Nowhere near as much, no.
No.
So Rob, we got Rob's put in there. Buyers need to do less stress. Breeders have already done it. Well, there's all the environment of being in a shop environment as well, which is seeing more public go past them and more people back and forth. Whereas you see like vats at Crafties, vats at Rick's, where you approach them and the fish mob you. They come to you. They want feeding. You take that fish home and put them in your pond, and your fish never act in that manner at all. They don't do that mobbing like they do.
That's a stock density competition thing, but they're not stressed by being in your pond. They don't have to do it.
Yeah.
But our problem was when we originally started farming koi 30 years ago, you grow them and you put them in a tank, and if someone went near the tank, fuck me, every fish tried to drill itself in the far corner. And to the point, the exact opposite, they would almost be coming out of the tank trying to get away.
Yeah.
And the stress of it was a nightmare. And you're like, well, you see, you look at the back then, there was nothing on YouTube where you look in a magazine and all these lovely fish that are quite calm. And our fish are coming out of the ponds like psychopaths. Going on here. But you learn the whole process, isn't it? Every time those fish go for it. And the more they go for it young, the more they deal with it. It's not an issue. They don't, you can bowl them up, catch them, put them back, they carry on feeding, they're not bothered. But yeah, that used to be, and again, it's the same in the angling world, isn't it? Those carp that get caught a lot and get kind of treated well, there's no damage, they go back. Fine.
Michael's put a question. What do you class as overwintering? Some dealers expect you to pick the fish up in January or February, and the weather doesn't warm up until April or May. Or if you're in Huddersfield, it could be June and July.
I think ours is 1st of April. April Fool's Day, your fish is long gone, mate. You sold it.
Yeah, we sold it again.
Yeah, I think we do to April like no charge. But our biggest issue now is last year we had like 100 fish that weren't collected by then. It's taken up a pond, so we should be. So you don't want to start charging people, but yeah, we have fish that were never collected, paid for, and just never collected. It's like, well,
I've got one swimming around in my vat at the minute. I bought in February, and it's still not been collected.
Oh, I thought that were a dick then. Sorry.
No,
I thought you were going to.
No, not at all, man. That's an agreement. No, I mean, the
Agreed.
overwintering thing.
Mine lived there permanently until I
I've heard along the grapevine from customers certain services that have been promised, and then you must come and collect, sort of thing. Now, and any good dealer would not release their fish knowing that it's going to go from a semi-warm water to a freezing cold water, because it's the health of the fish that's being hit.
What's mad with ours, mate? Ours are cold. Ours are fucking damn. Ours are unheated, mate.
I mean, ours are in store. In store, they're at an ambient temperature. So at the minute we're sitting around 17, 18 degrees in store.
Fucking ambient, geez. I want to come and stay with you.
But no, they're not, mate. The thing is, the store is heated though. We have to keep our ambient temperatures quite warm for the marine and trops as well. So the air source heat pumps and pumping their arse off. So what we've got a heating system inside the store, and because where we are, it really, really holds all the heat inside. It's a greenhouse, right? So ultimately the heat gets held indoors. So indoors it's okay. Outdoors, it's at ambient temperature. It's a hell of a lot. I don't really want my fish swimming around outdoors in cold water, because it's not the dumb thing, really. It causes more problems than it needs to. But ultimately, if I sell a fish that is outdoors, like from an outdoor tank, I've got no problem sending that fish from our establishment to the consumer via courier, because the temperature should be nigh on the same.
4 degrees all the way.
Do you know what I mean? But you know what I'm saying, Rick? It's like, I'm not going to send it from somewhere that's 17, 18 degrees to a pond that's sitting at 4. It's just not going to happen.
But then that means all your shop fish can't be sold either.
Correct. And that's why they go into overwintering.
Cool.
Yeah.
And that bit over the winter, and the main reason is because everybody's getting a TOSI in at the end of February, and we need our space.
Yeah, it takes a fucking huge amount of management. I don't. There's not a lot of people out there that really put a second thought to it, and why should they? But actually, there's a huge amount of pressure when you're keeping people's fish for them. Because our ponds are the same as everyone else's ponds. The only difference is that they're monitored, 7 days a week, without fail. But fish are fish. Sometimes the colour falls off of them. Sometimes there's an issue in a pond. Sometimes we'll have an end of life situation. I sold a fish last year.
Sorry, say that again. An end of life situation.
Yeah, well, I sold.
No,
Serious, Rick. I sold a £1,600 Bennycombe Ryu last year, right? And no word of a lie. 2 days after that sale, they'd been put in walked out, and that one fish was just upside down, mate. Nothing wrong with a pond, nothing wrong with a fish. It just croaked it, So
we just call that it fucking died.
It just fucking died, but put it in a nice
end of life situation.
But we don't know what happened to that fish. It died, so it's an end of life situation. Don't know what the cause was. It just fucking pegged it.
In the army, mate, when you shot someone, you go, he's had an end of life situation.
He had a very bad end of life situation quite often.
You can imagine it on the shop's tannoy system going.
Yeah, that's an end of life, mate.
Attention, this is Crafty, manager of Perfect Aquatics. We have an end-of-life situation or staff.
I put things in a very humane way,
Aisle 3 is dead.
But then, that then comes back to us, doesn't it? And then on the top of that, it's like, if you have a death, it's like, then there's an element of doubt in your abilities, when actually, it's not the case. There's a lot of pressure. Not only to, we've had a situation. I had a fucking goshki this year, mate, absolute insane fish. I well overpriced it, so no one would buy it to push it. And then one of the lads sold it for 35 fucking quid. It's fucking worth a fortune, And somebody had bought that fish. Somebody had bought it, and then 2 days later, he sold it for 35 fucking quid. You know, there's,
How was
and
it?
that's because the fish are there. You know, that bloke
Goshkin.
must have been rubbing his fucking hands together. I'd love to know who it was that bought it. He must have been laughing all the way to the cup.
banging Goshkin, didn't it? That's what it was.
Fair play to him. It's his win, isn't it? You know, but fuck me, man, I was pissed.
We get it, mate. A fish jump from one pond to another.
Yeah,
And then,
yeah.
That's the best ones to go. That's why I always look around the shop first. Especially on yours when big ones are next to them and you think, that bugger in there, it's massive.
It says it's 75 quid.
Bargain, thank you. And you've got to sell it and all, haven't you, for that price?
No,
No,
you don't.
no, you haven't.
You do.
That's already
No, you
sold.
don't.
What's in there?
Why's that then?
Because you're the boss. You can say what you like.
No. Look at the consumer rights, mate. Right there. Right. If I had that yellow monkey swimming around in a toes eye tank for 95,
Yeah, but then
right. No, but it's the same. It's maybe an extremity. It might be an extremity, all right. But the truth is that fish is not worth 95 quid. We don't have to sell that item.
If you don't
that
sell
is
that
priced.
fish to the wrong person when he's coming, you might have another end of life situation.
Yeah, mate, that would happen as well. Tell you. But no, that's not true. Your consumer rights, it's there is no right for you to be sold a product that is priced incorrectly.
Actually, I've refused sales to people just because I don't like them.
You look like
Yeah, so have I, mate. Yeah, it's not.
You look like that kind of guy. If he caught you before you'd had your first cup of tea in the morning, not selling you now. Fuck you.
No, I've refused sales to someone that I don't like, mate.
No, so no, that's not fair. Not like them, but not like not like where. Just yeah.
You just if I know that this guy, right, this is the morals. If I know that this guy, right, is not got the right environment for the fish that is going to buy, I'm not selling him that fish. Simple as that. It's not the right place for that fish to go. Right, money or not, it's not about the money. It's about making sure that your product is going to the right place as much as you can possibly do. Right. And if you know that there's a guy out there that really doesn't look after his fish, then I'm not going to sell it to him. Simple.
That's how it should be in life, isn't it? There should be someone at the front door of Tesco saying, "Well, you're fat enough. You don't need any more food."
Yeah, fucking right, McDonald's. You fat fuck out the door.
We're going everywhere this week, aren't we?
I'll be fucking starved, mate. I'll be starved everywhere I go.
What? My missus now, right? She does some food bank tokens, right, to people that smoke, drink, and have got season tickets to the local football club, and they come asking for food bank tokens. Stop smoking, drinking, and going to watch the football. You can
feed
afford
yourself.
Food.
Yeah, stop ponting.
It's not a free precursor. I'm skint this week. I'm going to get some free food.
Probably saying no.
Oh shit, wrong one.
Illegal, probably.
What's illegal?
Saying no to them just because they're going to football, etc., etc. It's like somebody that's signed off sick.
So it's their human rights to have tobacco, alcohol, cannabis, cocaine, season ticket to Saints, but they can't afford the food. Yeah, we need to change our laws. Yeah. I'll get arrested for it soon, but it's fine.
Nutrimare 360, even being new to the market, will make its mark in 2025.
But I'm not sure it's that new to the market. That's the German food or the Chinese one. I think it might be Chinese coming through Germany or either or, but there's no new food to the market. Realistically, there's no new food to the market. Everyone's just following
it's all the same stuff, just in a different bag, in it, with a different spin on it. Made how many koi food producers is there worldwide?
Not many.
Exactly.
Well, just looking at the ingredients on this stuff, it's fish meal, wheat germ, salmon oil, processed grain, spirulina, wheat starch minerals, krill meal, yeast products, garlic powder, grapeseed, pomace, black cumin oil, thyme oil, rosemary oil, basil oil, oregano oil. Mate, it's nothing new.
I can buy that for 50 quid a sack from Minnie's Wool Farm.
It's nothing new.
That's called dog food. Shit.
It's the results that do the speaking. That that is period.
But what's its price? What's its price, Daniel? What will it be for a 15 kg bag?
That's the two blokes. That's the two blokes. I know who it is. Yeah. The thing is, if you're trying to make a good food, you end up following the same path because there's only so many ingredients you can use. And then you get hamstrung if you're manufacturing it in Europe. So maybe you're going to manufacture it, outsource it to China, whether you can use those ingredients, and then you're allowed to ship them back because there's different rules about that. This is where it gets absolutely mental.
Okay, 10 kilo sack is 85 quid on the website that I'm looking at, which it's its own website. 15 kilos is 125.
Sounds good to me. How much is delivery?
I don't know.
Oh, there you go. 85 quid for 10 kg. Thanks, Lorraine.
We've got all our brine shrimp
What's
stuff.
it like for discolouring your water? That pisses me off with Koi Foods, man. Free delivery.
Free delivery in the UK from Germany. Not a chance. Not a chance. Can't get brine shrimp.
Unless they've got a store, unless they've got a warehouse here with it in. You know?
Can't get brownie shrimp. You've had some trouble trying to get that.
Mate, honestly, the whole Brexit shit, mate. You have to pay the couriers for bringing the product, how much it could be worth when it goes through customs. It's fucking mental. It's just mental. I don't even.
And to be honest, looking at what product is available, there's literally Koi Sink 360, Koi Swim 360, Koi Swim 360 Sensitive, and Koi Swim 360 Tozai. Right. Well, there's four.
What's sensitive? What's the category of that?
Special diets for little dogs. But
it will be something like that. Sensitive, like a dog, a sensitive stomach.
Well, how would you know? They don't have stomachs.
Well,
Dogs do, but I don't. Come on, Matt. 101 that. Would you
They
like
just
to
have
refer
one
to
big
the intestinal tract?
Particularly, it's for particularly weakened koi and relieved by the reduced digestive stress. So basically, it's got an ingredient that's easier digestible, but it's still got colour enhancement to it. It just sounds, let the results do the talking on it.
Yeah,
That's
I
what
suppose if it starts coming over here next year and it starts having good, produces good results, then
the only way they know is by sending us a ton free.
yes, that's it. I was just thinking same. You could send the GKP 12 bags and we shall do a trial of it on the channel and see what it's like. I shall spread it amongst the masses and 4.5 ton to rig.
I need a
for a month.
Ton for me, ton for Crafty, ton for Matt. We can grow one pond on it.
See what it does.
I've just looked at what sensitive is on the bag. It states, it doesn't say that it's a cold water food. It states that it's for fish that are highly stressed and reduces the digestiveness of what the normal food would. So it makes it less stressful eating as well. That's all it's saying, pretty much.
There's probably got like yeast in it. So years ago, we got a yeast product that actually does technically work. So the yeast cells are broken, so it goes through the stomach wall, which pisses off the immune system, which triggers an immune response in the fish. So your fish are then ready to fight. The plan was you feed the fish this, they're ready to fight a stress response. If you know you're going to harvest your fish, you feed the fish this yeast product with your food.
So you get them geared up for a stress event.
Basically, you'll give them something that pisses their immune system off. They get hives or scratches or whatever. So when you harvest them, they're really triggered for being harvested. But unfortunately, after 2 weeks, the body gets used to it and no longer triggers that response. And how do you quantify those fish are ready for an immune stimulus before you even did it? It's one of them. It's it's on paper in a scientific test it might sound great, but in reality it's kind of it's difficult. It's like feeding garlic. You can feed garlic to your fish. In test situations, you feed enough garlic to fish, it makes certain parasites less likely to attach themselves to the fish because
they're secreting the garlic.
Whatever they. But if you've got parasites and a bunch of fish, they're all fed the same thing. Those parasites are not. They're going to go. Actually, they stink, but I'm going to still eat your blood because there's no other choice, is there?
Yeah, they've got to eat, or they're going to be
eat or die. So technically, if you had a test bunch of fish fed on it and a test bunch of fish not, these ones probably will have less parasites than these ones. But in reality, that's not how life works, is it? Because those parasites are not going to go, oh, well, I'm starving to death. They just go, oh, fuck it. They'll have some whatever. And then they get used to the garlic and go, I like garlic now.
Yeah. Quite got a taste for it. Let's have him.
Yeah, it is. And this is where you've got to be a bit careful. Scientific stuff and real life stuff are quite often different, aren't they?
So I've got the stream on, Gaz, as well in the background. I didn't see that comment that popped up by Alan Tate, but that was just coming on in my head. It's like I'm watching. I was just like reading through the comments about this food. For me, what I would like to know is where is the information that makes people so confident that this is the next best thing? Because it's the results that sell the product. Anyone can say X, Y, and Z. Well, I can tell you that my car does 150 mile an hour, but in reality, it don't. Right?
Put your foot down. It does. I've tried it.
but truth is, it's results that do the talking. So don't get pulled in by this big, like, oh, we're the next best thing, blah 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 blah.
It's a sales pitch, mate, aren't they? And if it's a sales pitch that you're being given, that doesn't necessarily mean it's a reality.
Totally right, mate. It's until I see the results, then I'm sorry, but that will always be on a back burner. And that's how people should approach the food market as well, because there's, it's the results that talk. Otherwise, you're throwing good money to bad. In my opinion, if you've got a good food and you're used to it and there's no reason to change, right, then stick with what you fucking got. You know what you're doing. The fish don't need constant change of diets. If you're happy with the results, if you're happy as a fish keeper with what your pond's doing, there's no requirement to change your food.
Do you live in the real world? Because marketing is everything. You can sell turd to anyone with marketing.
You certainly can.
KSI is a bomb out of Prime. What the fuck's Prime?
But you've got but for me, mate, I don't. Very, very rarely do I get pulled into a marketing ploy. Very rarely. It's like I'm someone that will sit and research something to fucking death before I actually go for it. And I think that people need to sit back on certain things and have a little bit of a think about it. Especially koi food. Koi food's really not that interesting, really. It's really not. A lot of it's exactly the same sort of thing on the back.
The vast majority of them have all got a very, very similar content, haven't they? With maybe a slight fluctuation in quantities, but
except Tetra, that shit, fucking period.
Fish meal is the key, right? I'm not being funny. The whole thing is about fish meal is the best diet you can feed your fish.
100%. Let's
face it. We can't theoretically all feed our fish. All farm fish meal, because there's not enough fish meal left in the seas to create fish meal anymore. It used to be a byproduct, then it became a premium product, now a super premium product, because we've raped the seas to the point of there ain't enough fish meal left.
Yeah.
So you have to. That's why they're all looking for the next big thing. But marketing, Crafty, you're wrong. I've sat and watched so many perfume adverts. I don't even know. You watch an advert. If you don't know what's going on, you know it's a perfume advert.
a fucking
Perfect.
what he
What's
really
it
needs,
smell like?
instead of that bloke that's ripped like a fucking warrior from the ancient gods era, jumping off a cliff, coming up and going, whatever the fucking
Do the hair
thing
flick
is.
as well.
And it's like, what you need is someone that is built like reality. Me, doing a bomb,
Still pulling the
fucking
bird.
springboard into a pond, into a pool full of kids, and going, come on,
Yeah, as you're jumping off.
and then brute, That's what you need, mate.
But that's the thing. Marketing sells. That's the point.
Fucking 100%, right? And I was having this conversation with the person from Saki this week, right? So took her down the food aisle, right? And I sat there, we was talking about sales and whatnot, and I said the amount of people that will go to Tetra and pick it up because it's in a bucket, because it's like bright and colourful, and because it looks like you get a lot for your money, right, is insane. And lo and behold, like I'd set it up, some bloke walked down, past Takazumi, past Saki, past Medikoi. Koi variety sticks. Off he went. 38 quid's worth of Koi variety bullshit.
Puff.
Right, that does fuck all. Right. And I then went and spoke to him and I said, right, have a look. Right, main ingredient in Tetra, cereal. Right. And what made it even worse is when the rep come in, right, I was there with the rep from Cloverleaf that was trying to sell me some other shit, right? And he said, "Oh yeah, we're number one Koi food." I said, "What's your food made of?" I said, "Well, come on, if you're number one Koi food, tell me why it's so good." Well, he didn't even know the breakdown of his own product, right? And that's the type of person that you're dealing with. Yes, it is a very good selling product, right? And the only reason it's on our shelf is because a lot of people that keep ponds go to that because it's the one that sells well. And that's because point of sale and marketing for it is excellent. But actually, when you break down the bones, Saki comes in a brown paper fucking bag, at 15 kilos. Which one looks better on a shelf? The one that's got a picture of a koi on it with a green and yellow background. Right? Until you actually know what's in that bag, right, your opinion don't change. You will go to that product and you'll think, oh, 2 for 1, thanks. But actually, when you break down the costing of it, you are spending £400, 440 quid on Tetra Pond sticks at the same weight value as what you do a 15 kilogram bag of sake at 220. Right, but the results in both of them two things are completely different, i.e. Saki does the best, Tetra does the worst, and you're paying twice as much for the same amount.
You had that guy, the moment you said it contains cereal, he just thought, I'll have that shit every morning for my breakfast. Banging.
No, you give him a little bit more, and you say, look, actually, fish eat fish, yeah? Fish meal, that's what you want. Right? Let's start looking. And he put it back and picked up some probiotic Medikoi, which is, by far a better fucking food than any pond stick.
I'm doing a new trade, mate. I've got a new one, right? I'm going to go out collecting slugs. No fucker like slugs.
Chuck like slugs.
Slugs got to be a great food for koi.
Yeah.
Slugalicious.
It was a good year for slugs, right?
Slugalicious.
You can come and pick them off the game covers because this year was a bloody
I
good year.
love snails, man. They nail the shit out of them. I keep having to fish them out of my pond, empty shells. You get a damn.
Slugalicious is going to be the new food.
Yeah, if you just throw a slug in, guys, then you ain't got to worry about the shell because I ain't got shells.
It's not throwing them in. They're out crawling across top at net and then they go, shit. And that's it. And then they're done. 2 or 3 minutes and they're sucked out of the shell. Gone.
How's the other
I think
visit?
it's a lot of crap when people say flukes come from snails because
I'm pigeon shit.
yeah.
I don't know.
How's your other visit?
Say now, hang about my. I got used to you saying, "Can I ask a question?" Go on.
Yeah, please, sir. Please. How's your other visitor? Has he been back?
He has, mate. Yeah,
What, Bernard?
He's been back. What? No, I don't know. Actually, Did I tell you that he'd been other week in our brand and scared him off with dog?
Yeah.
He's not been back since then.
Right.
But you got the new alarm that woofs, didn't you?
I had to go tell my new neighbour, listen, mate, if you're a dog barking, I ain't got one locked in the shed. Honest. Got a camera on there as well. And just so you know, it's not so showing camera light. I said, so if you hear a funny barking, I've got it because Erin's on, and if it comes down, I'm hoping it's going to scare it away. And it's like he said, no, mate, for me, the more cameras you've got, the better. If you want any more putting up, let me know, man. It's what I do. So like, sweet, happy days.
Oh, sweet. That's cool.
Whereas the old neighbours weren't too happy about the camera being there.
Well, mate, people, fuck them.
Fuck 'em, indeed. Anyway, 30% extra free, have it, says Garrett. Alan Tate says, like all food, results will determine sales. I'm sure Daniel has had tests done by numerous hobbyists. Price point is good, so we will see.
Yeah, agree with that.
Yeah, 100%. Anybody got any more for any more? Any questions? Anything they would like to have a natter or a chat about? We're at 3:08 mark. And if not, then I'm going flying my spaceship.
And Gaz has got a spaceship, a real one, like Wallace and Gromit.
A real one. Real one. I've got myself. Check this shit out.
Yeah, hang on. Before you do, I spoke to the boss about 24-hour life.
Mm-hmm.
It's a go.
Oh, sweet. Happy days.
So all that will happen is, because we obviously bring the guard dog into the establishment in an evening.
He'll be on the show.
No, you don't want to be around him because he's fucking not very nice. So what we'll do, we'll set up in the cafe in an evening. It's nice and warm in there, nice surroundings, and we'll do the show from inside the cafe in the evening, mate.
Happy days. Anyway, as I was going to do, I was just going to say, look, we've got, we got new flight sticks. Shit, that
wow.
So
Thrustmaster.
No,
that's what they call me. That's what
there was. These are HOTAS X56, something sort of, and it's taking me days to work out how to use them all.
You're still crushing your crafty, good for the 24-hour food then. Yeah, you ain't wrong, Wolf.
Anyone tested Aqua Utopia Pond Detox?
Yes. I will tell you now, it is our highest selling product.
Is that Frank's?
Yeah, that stuff is fucking extraordinary. Used it for a few weeks now. Copper disappears. Ammonia helps strip that back. We used Alpha-X on a pond, hit a dose of that 24 hours later. So anyone that knows it turns your water a luminous green, right? Normally it would take a couple of weeks to completely disappear out your water. Strips all of that out. Honest to God, that stuff does something else. Whatever Frank and his business partner have put together, they have certainly hit something that's worth it. For additives to ponds, the only thing that's worth adding is clay and this stuff, for beneficial, it's definitely worth it. The clarity of the water. So ponds in ours, it's like every pond's different. Even two ponds indoors next to each other, one can be crystal clear, the other, milky water or a slight sort of cloudiness to it. Whack that in overnight, next morning, crystal clear. So whatever it does, man, it does it fucking fantastic.
So, Frank, if you would like me to do a little bit of a video on it for you, mate, not a problem. I'm more than happy to sample.
Why don't we get him on the show? He needs to get on the show.
Frank's
he can give me some. I'll test it with the sake and the other stuff I'm getting sent.
I'll send some down to you, Rick. I'm sure Frank can give me a free of charge couple of bags to send down to you, mate.
I'll try it.
Only promote, but I kid you not, I had underestimated how well it would sell, and it is literally like yesterday alone. There was 12 orders, and it's only available through a couple of dealers. Obviously, on one of them, I ain't going to tell you the others. So jump onto ours, put the order in if you want some.
I did notice, if you look at the thumbnail though, look how his pond was so green, and then in the next shot, crystal clear.
Fucking mate, honest to God, it works some magic.
Top notch stuff. That I have never seen.
It even
green light, but
it even has got additives in it, and I can't remember off the top of my head without looking back because it's a new product. But it promotes fish health as well. Good skin, good luster. Which is what clay does.
My only issue is something that kills algae and flocculates water and promotes good skin and all the rest of it. It's just like it's too much without knowing.
Well, the way that Frank looked at this is that you have to buy a different product for different reasons. When actually, can you put things together and achieve what you need, irrespective? Because I mean, let's face it, if you've got metal in your water, right, and this stuff takes metal out the water, then you don't need to go and fork out fucking few £100 for a pre-filter if you haven't got that sort of money.
So if that's the case, then is that not going to put Andy Finch out of Finch Filtrations out of a job?
No, well, Finch is testing at the minute, so Andy Finch is one of the people.
I know he's testing it. That's why I say it, because it's actually on video, isn't it?
But it's not, because it's not, is it? Because there's a lot of people out there that don't pre-filter. All right, that haven't got them. And, yeah, totally right. There's a lot of people out there that don't want to pre-filter. There's a lot of people out there that don't have the necessity or requirement. But just by adding this in, could just change everything for them. So could that for something that's worth having, it's worth having.
Could that do away with the product? If it does, I'm not saying it does or doesn't, mate, because it's just a question. Could that do away with RO?
No, I don't think so, mate. Because
RO is that the right word?
This is probably the exact opposite of RO.
Yeah.
So RO, you're stripping everything out. You're starting with distilled water.
Yeah.
This is
so if you add RO, adding this would add all the things that you required rather than.
My issue is, right, if you imagine you've got a pond of water with X amount of stuff in it, maybe 10% of the shit in the water you might not really want, and you put this stuff in and it bonds it all and does whatever it does, then what?
I'll tell you what, Rick, before
you can't get rid of stuff. You can't get rid of heavy metals. You can't get rid of these things. You could bond them. You can put flocculates into water to take away parts.
Which is exactly what it does.
You can put whatever you can, but they don't go anywhere. They're still trapped somewhere. So then you could use a drum maybe to remove them.
Yeah.
Or in a normal filter, they'd sit somewhere and then slowly return back to the water. So you have to keep.
So
nothing's that good, is it?
Let's get you some scent, and then you do your testing on it and come back with your results.
I'm just saying, it sounds too good to be true, doesn't it? You put this product in and it removes all heavy metals and ammonia and this and that and the other.
Yeah.
They didn't just disappear. Nothing can disappear. You can't change matter from. You have to convert it or you have to remove it. You can't.
It has to be removed, doesn't it? Obviously, yeah.
But most ponds don't remove it, do they? Where is it going? I'm playing devil's advocate.
But there's nothing wrong with that. You always play devil's advocate. There's nothing wrong with that. But there's nothing wrong with. No, I'm all for that because that's what sparks debate, isn't it? If everyone said yes to everything, then what a fucking boring world we'd live in. Just let me send you some. Have a look, and then you come back with what you think is best.
You first, Guy.
Not a chance, mate. There's some good.
He asked me a question. I answered. Don't say that you have to agree with it.
I don't agree with it, mate. There's some.
Who's the best breeder for Kajaku?
But again, let's say take that as a question, right? Do you want Kajaku that grow massive, Kajaku that have got nice deep red benny, Kajaku that have got a good body shape? Where are you going with that? What is your dream Kajaku?
Exactly. Could be a New Forest red one.
There you go.
Quite like mine, mate. If I do not quite like mine, I love mine. I think it's belting. Turned out to be right.
You need to know where you're going with your question.
Oh, you're studying there, mister. What are you studying? What did I miss?
Who, me? No, I ain't got my glasses on, mate, so I'm having to get close to the screen. Otherwise, it's just a
You're on
fucking
his
blurred
that's
mess.
right. He's like he's looking like that. He's screening his
I
glasses.
don't know why. I don't like when I put these on. You get a reflection in the glass. I don't like that.
Oh yeah,
Like,
don't worry about
end up
don't worry about
concentrating on
the reflection, mate. You vain bastard.
No, I end up when I'm watching. I end up looking at the reflections on the glasses. It pisses me off. So I'd rather not wear them.
So where I'm going with this whole thing, right, is imagine you got a body of water. Someone says, here's a product you can put in this water, takes away ammonia, right? It's called Z-Lite. Fine. Takes away, it will absorb the ammonia in the water body. Great.
But then right away.
It will absorb X amount of ammonia. And if you change it and dose it in salt, and it will ion exchange, take out sodium chloride, and do whatever. But if you leave that zeolite in that pond,
it just
will get to the point where it's saturated, and then happens, it will then suddenly just dump the ammonia back into the pond, especially if there's salt in the pond or whatever. So you can sell this thing as this magic product that will absorb ammonia and take away this problem. But in reality, it's just masking a problem for a period of time. It's got an amazing use in a window.
It has been put through, from what I know, it has been put through a hell of a lot, like 18 months worth of testing.
I'm not saying that the product might do amazing things, but it's probably got a window where it's useful, and then you've got.
Yeah, look, I see where you're going. You can't. Your example with zeolite is a good one. You know.
Yeah, but the same thing. Anything you add can only take away. A flocculant will take away solids, and it will do what it does. But unless you take away the shit at the end of the table, it's going to sit there, and then at some point regurgitate that shit or release it. We use algae in the same way. We use algae to absorb ammonia in our ponds.
We want Frank. We want Frank. Get him on. Let him answer.
Is it based in a lot of the products which has got bicarb in it, some form of clay, some other form of
Alexa, shut up. Alexa, switch off.
No way to talk to your missus like that, mate.
You've just said, why does all my stuff get switched on by you lot?
He just only said we want Frank.
I know, she's come on giving it. Well, Frank's not available today.
Good night, Gwen.
But yeah, in my mind, right, you've got an ecosystem where you're dealing with certain things, and you've got options to change, create, convert to make it suitable. Any product that says you can put this in and it just miraculously sets alarm bells ringing in my head, because you can't.
You think more of a case of masking.
Well, yeah, but
you've got to remove that what you're masking, and then
they can't. All right, copper. You got copper in your water for whatever reason. You could bond that copper up, but then where's that? It's going to sit in the bottom. Where it can't go anywhere. It's still what it is.
I mean, don't get me wrong. There's definitely, from when because where the shop is, our water source is absolutely dog shit. You know, it's hard as fuck. You know, so having different results. As soon as I put that stuff in, overnight there is a layer of where it's fluctuated in the water and everything's dropped down. You've got to remove that, but ultimately, if there's that added bit of maintenance and it's doing that good to the water, I don't mind.
That's the thing. That's superb, isn't it? I'm not. Yeah. If you can do something and make your water better, then I've got another customer that's got an issue with it. Their water's so bad they have to put it through RO, then ozone it to make it, because they got no mains water. And by the time it's ready for drinking or using in the house or the pond, it is literally distilled water. And he's like, I can't use it. I don't want to use it for the koi ponds because it's just so unstable. But
Yeah.
you can easily add stuff to it to restabilize it. It's not, as long as you know where you are, what you're doing, it's fine, isn't it?
But as an additive that's worth putting in your water, then it's something, if you've got a requirement for it, it's something that is worth putting in. You know, it's not a lot worth adding to your pond water, is it? Let's face it. Normally, you're always battling something bad. You know,
No, everyone's water is different, isn't it? Some people, that's the point, isn't it? Everyone's water is different. So to have a product you can just put in your water and make everything better, it just sounds a bit good to me. It sounds like, I don't know.
But honest to God, until you try it, then no,
Yeah,
I think that you're actually a good candidate.
Until you try.
Give it a go. But again, it's this marketing ploy that we were saying about earlier. The results do the speaking. So, you know, I've got a couple of bags sent down to have a look. Yes, please.
So
I
is
will
that
by all means sell it.
it what's the word? Coagulates, whatever it is. Makes it all bind together, and then it drops to the bottom of your pond.
Yeah.
So then you've got to vac it off bottom of your pond to
But
get.
no, it all depends. Like we're on a pump fed system, so you know it's not the best for pulling everything off the bottom. You know, for something like that, it's a little bit of extra maintenance, but you know, ultimately,
So if you were pump fed, you'd still just have to vacuum up at the end of it when you're done.
Yeah, in the main pond, it's all been pulled straight from.
How often would it need to be added?
Well, it all depends on your water source, doesn't it, and what it is that you're adding it for. But you know, the recommendation on the packet is once a week. But you know, the dosage is so small that one packet lasts you for 100,000 litres. You know, it's or I can't remember. 2 kilos is fucking 200,000, maybe.
10 Gs for 1,000 litres.
You know, but
10 grams for 1,000 litres.
Yeah, and they come in 2 kilo bags, so you got 2,000.
You get 1 or 2 kilo bags. You know, I actually underestimated it. I ordered more 1 kilo, thinking people would go with that as a trial, but a majority of the orders that have come through are 2 kilos, which was sold out of. So I'm having to put 2 1 kilo bags in to satisfy the orders.
Just over 50, just over 50 quid, and it treats 200,000 litres.
You know,
It's one of the things, though, isn't it? How do you quantify? So the first person that put colour enhancers in koi food would be like, "Oh, put this in there. These fish look better." And someone says, "Oh, do they look better?" I don't know. The quantification of stuff is really difficult. The reality of it is, like you say, you try it, things are better. But the fact you have to put a teaspoon in a week or whatever, I don't know. In my head, that I'm struggling with that a little bit. If you put a dose in to take away all the heavy metals and flocculate shit,
unless you add new water, it should never need another treatment, should it?
It's like, I don't know. But we live in a world where we need to have our eyes open because shit comes out and some shit's good, isn't it?
yeah.
UVs are amazing. The stuff that is amazing, we could poo-hoo it, but actually it could be dog's bollocks, couldn't it?
Yeah, I mean, you say UV bulbs, mate. There's a new law that's come in place that's making them quite hard to produce at the minute.
100%. I said that. I said this 18 months ago. The UV bulbs are going to be, extremely difficult to get hold of, and they're going to be changing the regulations on the production of them all. It's all to hit in the very, very near future.
It's already started in the European market. So I know the 55 watt UV. There was. Well, first and foremost, the factories that were making them that was buying from were in Ukraine. So they're no longer building, obviously. Some of the stuff that's been outsourced to other European countries, this new law has basically meant that they've had to shut the shop on them. So, you know, I don't know enough about it to go into any depth, but what I do know is that there's potentially going to be an issue in the future.
There we go again.
There's potentially going to be an issue in the future.
Yeah, there is, The results will determine how good the product is. As with Koi food, water in my pond possibly won't need this.
Alan's got a lovely pond. He won't need it.
Hey, for you, Recce, it does actually say there about spawning time. It's an ideal opportunity to try it. It's saying it enhances the water. Enhances the water by removing the ammonia or the high levels of ammonia during spawning periods.
Which is one of the
Do
tests that he
ion
done.
exchange. So if you find out the product's just ground up zeolite, just I don't know.
We all say it about the dumping of the ammonia. Does it literally dump it? So everything.
No, it can only hold so much, can it?
Yeah.
When it gets that point where it's saturated with it, then it starts to leach back in.
Is it leaching it back in or not taking the ammonia that's being created? Do you see it like it's zero ammonia today, and then you go out there tomorrow and go?
Well, it can only absorb so much, then, can it? That's surely zeolite can do so much to take it out, recharge it, rinse it all off, salt, thingy-me-bob, put it back in, and it does the process over again.
Yeah,
but if you leave it in consistently, I thought it took so much. I'm sure it says something about it on packaging when you get it. That
yeah, we all say it dumps it after a certain period. It dumps all the ammonia, but does it actually dump?
It probably doesn't. No, I think the reality is it stops it. If you use zeolite to absorb the ammonia, right? So if you've got it in a filter, your filter's not going to mature if that's absorbing the ammonia before the filter's getting it. And generally, the only reason it would dump it is if you start adding salt to a pond where you're using zeolite. At which point the zeolite would then start ion exchanging between the ammonia and the salt. And
so it's the same bit where I've had people use the zeolite in there. Then they have the zero ammonia. They take away the zeolite from the pond and then the ammonia because they've now got ammonia back in the pond.
Of course,
because the filtration isn't man enough to cope with that amount of ammonia because zeolite's been taking it out before it's got to the filter.
Yeah. Correct.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
correct. Right then, ladies and gents, that's it. It was at the 3 hour 30 mark, and it's just
we've not been on that long.
It's 3 hours and 30 minutes exactly.
Been a cracking show, actually.
11 o'clock. I've enjoyed this one tonight. It's been good.
Yeah.
Usual thing, guys. If you've been enjoying this kind of content, do us a huge favour. Like, share, subscribe. Tell a friend. Until next week. Keep smiling, guys. We'll catch you on the next one.
Good night.
Bye.
Good night.
Just like that, Rick.
Every week just flies by.
Just
Go on.
Cricket bats.
No